clicking past, ain't feeling his hymn. Waiting for the moment, blow up like a piston. Haters gonna hate, but persistence gonna glisten. Hold tight, 20 turn to 100 someday. Laugh in their face, shouting, who wants some pay? Papa Show.
What up, Twitch? What up, Cosmic? What up, bots? What up, lurkers? What up, tiny people in my chatterino? It's your boy. Tomorrow, we will be doing an episode in the evening. We'll be having a conversation with She Snaps, another streamer. Believe they have some questions about AI, etc., and they're also a wonderful person. So that should be a good time. And that'll happen at the standard 5 p.m. Eastern, assuming all things go well. And I think that's about it. I don't have much more. Other than a bucket of content. First up, hearing from Manus AI. Do you remember Manus, alleged agent? Apparently they have a video generator.
What if a single prompt could build a world? What if every frame had purpose before it was ever shot? What if your idea became not just images, but scenes, shots, and stories? What if video was the output? Manus now generates video, structured, sequenced, and ready to watch. So I wondered, what if I asked it for legends? I asked for Chinese mythical beasts from ancient China. Manus studied the lore, drew them to life, animated their stories, and built a site that let me scroll through legend. This is Manus, your vision, imagined, illustrated, animated, and rendered into reality.
We shall see. Up next, this Microsoft-backed AI startup just collapsed. Why?
Last week, Builder AI, a UK-based startup once valued at $1.5 billion, backed by Microsoft and of course SoftBank, has collapsed back to $0. This comes at a time when literally all my friends are becoming billionaires by putting the letters AI in front of their startup names, but the party can't go on forever. Like most startups out there nowadays, Builder AI offered a vibe coding platform called Builder Studio that promised to make you software without any technical expertise required. But as it turns out, that promise is hard to keep in reality, and I kid you not, their solution to half-assed AI code was instead to use a room full of underpaid Indian programmers to massage the slop into a working demo. In other words, it's an artificial intelligence tool powered by biological intelligence. As ridiculous as that sounds though, it's not the main reason Builder AI collapsed. They were also engaging in outright fraud to make their murr go burr. In today's video, we'll find out what went wrong and what it means for the future of AI coding startups. It is June 3rd, 2025, and you're watching the Code Report. It's been a wild few days for the AI enthusiast. The Claude 4 was released, and it made Claude 3.7 slightly better. Then just after that, DeepSeek R1 gets an update that makes DeepSeek R1 slightly better. We're not talking about exponential runaway intelligence here, which is kind of disappointing, but we'll take what we can get to keep the hype train going. But maybe we'll go exponential soon, because a new paper just dropped describing the Darwin-Godel machine, a self-improving AI system that iteratively modifies its Python codebase to
What up, bro?
validate its own coding capabilities on software engineering benchmarks using frozen foundation models. It sounds kind of like Google AlphaCode, but if it actually works, we really are cooked this time. But if your goal is to make money, the most important lesson to remember is that your tech doesn't actually need to work to get super rich. The Builder AI used that wisdom to create a product that quickly went from 0 to 1.5 billion, then back to 0 again. And on the website, they say, we make building an app so easy that even a caveman can do it. The way it works is that you prompt it just like ChatGPT ChatGPT, then a professional human-powered vibe coder steps in to fix all the slop. It's the perfect platform for people not talented enough to vibe code. The problem, though, is that their approach doesn't scale, and apparently the room full of Indian programmers was doing more work than the AI. That's not a good look, but the main reason they went bankrupt is that they were also committing outright fraud, allegedly, with a round-trip billing scheme with one of their partners. They were invoicing for work they never did to make their revenue go up. It's grow or die, but unfortunately one of their creditors found out and seized $37 million from their bank accounts, and that left them no choice but to declare bankruptcy. It seems like everywhere you go on the internet right now, you'll find clueless optimists is saying that 90% of white-collar work will be eliminated by AI within the next 5 years, to which the clueless pessimists respond by saying that AI is nothing more than the latest Silicon Valley pyramid scheme. The truth is likely somewhere in the middle, and it's going to be fun to watch this bubble pop like 2001 or explode into the singularity. Either way, it's a win. But the best way to get the most out of these AI tools is to learn how they work under the hood. And you can start doing that today for free thanks to this video sponsor, Brilliant. Their How AI Works course teaches you how to build your own model from scratch. Is starting with simple text prediction.
So yeah,
up to more
sometimes maybe
like
good, sometimes maybe
each
sheep.
lesson is designed to be highly interactive, so you develop critical thinking skills.
Up next,
solving, not memorizing. Try everything Brilliant.
Hey Humanoid, HMND01 teaser.
QR code on screen to get 20% off a premium annual subscription. This has been the Code Report. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
Hey Humanoid. Are you ready to begin?
We shall see. Okay, this morning we briefly touched on Mary Meeker, yesterday morning we briefly touched on Mary Meeker and her title as alleged queen of the internet, and Nate has a little video for us.
So Mary Meeker wrecked my weekend, and I mean that in the best sense. She's known as the queen of the internet, and she was famous for her internet trends reports that came out annually and were particularly insightful from the 1990s to 2019. She was early on Google. She was early on Amazon. She has a sterling reputation for her analysis in the space. This is the first report she has dropped in 5 years, and it's on AI. 340 slides. I'm guessing you don't want me to go slide by slide, so I want to call out to you some of the highlights. There is a completely free.
Nate also dropped another video that's like 45 minutes long, which is an in-depth view on the slides, part 1. So apparently in his comments and whatnot, he got the response that people actually did want him to go deep in.
Article over on my Substack if you'd like a full takedown. It was a lot of fun for me to go through this weekend. It's incredible to see the amount of due diligence in this deck, to be very honest with you. All right, let's get right to it. First up, we have what I call the up and to the right section, where Mary is basically laying out the case that AI is absolutely unprecedented in the rate of growth.
We did the joke during when we covered the article, but unprecedented appears 51 times in the course of the slide deck.
That it is demonstrating across all of the traditional metrics in software. So she calls out AI user growth, ChatGPT is an indicator, up 8x in 17 months, which is just wild. So up to 800 million. And then talks about how that translates into revenue. And these are already, given the pace of change, these are already somewhat out of date.
What up, Senator? It really is unprecedented. Everything is weird and unprecedented.
And And revenue is up toward 4 billion now for
What up, Reed?
ChatGPT.
What up, Nick?
Subscribers are up toward 20 million from virtually zero in 2022. And so it's just, again, been up and to the right and continuing to accelerate even in 2025. And then this one is my surprise. The time to 365 billion annual searches, or a billion searches a day, ChatGPT got to that 5.5 times faster than Google got to it. And so Mary calls out that ChatGPT hit 365 billion annual searches in 2 years versus Google's 11 years, which is just wild. And now I know there's differences in internet penetration and other things that affect that, but still, the speed is astonishing. Mary also calls out some up and to the right trends in capital expenditure and internet infrastructure. NVIDIA installed GPU computing power has gone up 100x in 6 years. 100x. That one also got me to do a double take. There were a lot of double takes in these slides because I knew the numbers were big, but it was just wild. CapEx spend at the big six, I knew that was inflecting. It's really astonishing how much it has scaled up as a growth rate since 2020. Like, we can see the beginning of the AI build out in big cloud providers in 2020.
What up, Ribbons?
Data center build out also had a major inflection.
I mean, I get what you're saying, Nick. 100x is still 100x, right? But like when you, I'm with you on the idea is that like it's percentages versus raw numbers when you're talking about any particular thing, right? Like, and the news does it all the time. It's like murder rates went up 100% in the past year, and it went from 1 to 2, that kind of thing, right? Like sometimes you need raw numbers, sometimes you need percentages. 100x is still a lot. The fact that he gave us the numbers on like the searches in comparative between Google and ChatGPT, that was helpful. I would have liked a little more of that. I'm with you on that. Yeah, knowing what they were 6 years ago and where they are now, that would be helpful.
Point, but came a little bit later in 2023 as AI start to hit. It's been up 49% a year since 2023, which is insane. At the same time, there are a few charts that are down and to the right. So energy required per LLM token, I am not kidding you, 105,000x decline in energy required to generate a token over the last decade. If you want to look for a
99%. 99%. I'm sorry, 99% in cost. I apologize. And Reed, I mean, I'm screaming at this point. It's like we all keep hearing about how AI is an energy hog, but like it's 150,000 times as efficient as it was, when whatever the basis for comparison is, right? Like that's got to mean something, but it won't. It won't.
Reason why some of what we're experiencing today is possible.
AI uses a lot of energy as the new AI can't draw hands.
That's it. 105,000 times
not
cheaper
150
to generate a token in the last 10 years. This is off the NVIDIA GPU set. Similarly, AI inference costs are dropping through the floor. So the cost to serve a model is 99.7% lower over 2 years. AI cost efficiency gains look like a cliff, as you would expect. And Mary does an interesting job here. On this slide, she talks about the difference between the light bulb and the computer chip or computer memory chips in particular, and then the cost to generate like a 75-word response in ChatGPT. And you don't have to like know the exact number to get the general idea that the light bulb took something close to 75 years to drop as far in cost as ChatGPT has dropped in 2 years. And that's just wild to me. And because cost is lower, model performance is converging. And this is why DeepSeek's gains are not that surprising. And so if you look at the overall arena scores, which I know are not perfect, but at least they're a head-to-head comparison, Google, OpenAI, DeepSeek, they've all converged. And they were very, very different just a year plus ago. And so seeing that convergence highlights what Sam has called out, which is that we don't live in a world where we're going to have one winner in AI. We live in a world where there are multiple winners in AI. There's fierce competition. And this calls out one of the areas where Mary and I diverge a little bit. Mary views this fierce competition in classically economics terms. She thinks of it as competition that's good for consumers. What I notice is that consumers seem to have already anointed a winner in ChatGPT and to a lesser extent Gemini. And I don't see a proliferation of apps powered by these foundation models that I would expect in a true consumer revolution. People seem to be leaning into the habit stack they already have with ChatGPT. I do think this sort of vicious competition is going to be very good for business-to-business use cases, where we see much wider adoption across different business use cases and lanes of these different models. And so I think the thing that stands out to me that Mary doesn't really get into in the deck is that there's a very different future unfolding empirically for B2B than there is for B2C. B2C seems like a lottery where you're competing with ChatGPT right now. And B2B looks a lot more like we have these individuated use cases. Foundation models won't necessarily ever cover them. We need to build a particular tool for this particular use case, and you can have a lot of winners in the niches and the margins there. And in that world, having lower overall model cost and cost to serve makes a big difference from a unit economics perspective. Now that gets at one of the things that Mary calls out that isn't really, it's not clear how this gap gets fixed.
With all the data centers coming up here, the residents are soaking up infrastructure costs. Our electric has gone up 25% in 2 years. And if the energy costs are dropping, that doesn't math. It doesn't math. It doesn't math. That is like, you know, I'm the first to say that the what you call it, the privatization of the electrical grid was a terrible decision, right? And it continues to be a terrible decision. Your area is almost like comparable to what we're seeing in like California and Texas, you know what I mean? Like it is a whole fucking thing where you're going to get raked over the coals. And, you know, one would hope somebody would do something about that. But everybody's out to lunch these days. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, keep an eye on the profit margins. They'll be high, and they'll make some kind of excuse around how they're providing, you know, some sort of better service to their customers in these, you know, wildly fluctuating times, and you know that it's going to pay off in the future. And no, they are straight jacking people.
Fundamentally, AI model companies have raised something close to $100 billion. Mary pegs it at $95 billion. And they only cleared about $11 billion in annualized revenue. Now that number is rising really fast as these model makers start to scale. I think Anthropic literally is off the charts right now because Mary pegs them at $2 billion, and I recently heard $3 billion as an annualized rate. So they're really exploding, particularly since the Claude 4 launch a couple of weeks ago.
Wait, I was told that these AI companies don't generate sufficient revenue to offset their operating costs. Is that not the case? Is something else happening? Are you going to pull back on all your talking points because you have, you know, a again, I don't know who this person is, right? I don't know who Mary Meeker is, but apparently they're important, right? And important in the sense they're important because they're correct. They bring the data, they back it up, they have the chops. So if the data says something, we're all going to pivot to what the data says, right? That's how this works, right?
Go. But the overall picture remains the same. They've raised about 10 times more than they've delivered in annualized revenue, and there's a tremendous capital overhang there. And that means a big question mark around how we resolve that funding discrepancy. Because if you have a capital overhang, you have vicious competition, you have cost to serve going down, there's tremendous margin pressure on token utility and cost per token. At the end of the day, you've got something that you are selling that's depreciating really fast. That's tokens. And it costs a lot to make a new model. And I don't know how you clear money on that long term. And I think that's one of the interesting question marks for Anthropic, for OpenAI, for Google. And of those, Google obviously has the deepest pockets and can sustain this the longest, and that may be part of their strategy. But at the end of the day, this is a real discrepancy, and the bill is going to have to be paid at some point. I remember when Uber was dirt cheap and everyone was taking $2 rides here and there. Well, now they're $20. Now they're $25 rides. And so part of how Uber closed their profitability gap was they started charging the economic price. And I do wonder if at some point model makers are going to close this revenue gap by substantially raising prices. And we will have to see if they're able to retain users in that scenario. All right, moving along a little bit. I think one of the other takeaways I had is that AI agent interest is up as much as people think. It's up 1,088% over the last 16 months if you look at Google search trends. But, and this is again where I would sort of add a little nuance to Mary's take, I do not think that we are seeing very many practical use cases of agents outside of very large companies that have strong LLM engineering teams or very tidy pre-built agents that do very narrow things. Those are the two use cases where I see wins, and there's a big messy middle in the mid-market.
And I want to take this back to that idea that I had some time ago and I expressed was the idea that what I saw as AGI, presenting itself to the world is you would have a series of narrow agents and a governor AI that chose the right agent or collection of agents in order to execute tasks. Right? And that could be what's happening. Right? If you can make agents that are very good at a narrow task, why can't you just do that? New use case. We've seen that AIs can spin up an agent. So, under those conditions, why wouldn't you just lean into that? Right? And you wouldn't. One of the problems, one of the confusing portions that people run into is when they open up one of these. I don't even know how confusing it is. I feel like most people, when they go and they do one of these, right? I go here and I open up my Gemini and I just go to work, right? Now, I've already set what model I'm going to use, right? And they've actually limited the amount of models that they have up here, right? Flash for speed, Pro for, better thinking, reasoning, etc. But ChatGPT has a bunch, and then when you get with something like Perplexity, which has access to other people's models, then that adds a bunch of selection. I wonder how many people, by percentages, actually interact with this? Or do most people just go to the website and start working? Right? That's my question. Because if people aren't doing this, then it's the perfect place to start implementing that kind of thing, where you just, like, based on what the prompt is, you have a governor AI that looks at the prompt and says, okay, they want, a recipe for, like fucking Sicilian pizza, right? And so, like, that's a relatively fast.
We are the Borg.
Holy shit.
Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile.
What up, Raiders? Haven't met you. This is crazy. Here's my number.
Let's get a drink of water.
Call me,
Let's see how much
baby.
water I drank. Wow, that's really cool, dude. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Y'all are early. Y'all are like a half hour early. What is up with that? Did James have to run? What up, James? What up, Raiders? What up, trans women? CEO of Trans Women. What up, Crix? What up, Main Captain? What up, Van Briggs? What up, CMS? What up, Vibrator? What up, Ponder Monkey? What up, Textilian? Just barely made it on the bus. What up, Michael? What up, Neon Death? He was tired? Fair enough, fair enough. Get your rest. What up, Shanna? What up, Cicero? What up, Science Politically? What up, Samsons? Bloop, 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 bloop. What up, Barkeater J? What up, Big Ben? What up, Stellar Wingman? What up, Minty? What up, Chef? What up, Brecken? What up, Drenger? Think you only caught a couple hours sleep? Yeah, when you get old, What up, Brad? What up, Jenny Burns? If you don't know me somehow at this point in your existence on Twitch and in the James community, what up, Becca? I'm Globus the Elder. I talk about AI, automation, robots, and future tech. And I'm also the guy who says, just smoke the weed, kids. And for you news frogs, I know the news frogs, they come in on the raid and then they run away. News frogs, guess what? Guess what? Guess what? I got news for you. Like, literally, I got news about the AI. It's people freaking out, just like you love. I got you, fam. What up, Circuit Overlord? Yeah, no, Ben, I'm like, if I start missing out on sleep, then I start doing a sleep deficit thing. All right, we are wrapping up this video, and then see, I didn't expect y'all till like 6 o'clock, and that's when the news starts. So, but I have news. Look, news. Fox News, MSNBC, The Hill, Fox News. I got news. Stick around. There's news. And look, robot head design.
Where companies have custom needs, but they don't have the capital to get strong AI engineering talent, and their needs are too custom for the pre-built stuff. And what do? There's not really a great answer to that right now. And I think that that's an area where a little bit more nuance is helpful in terms of understanding what's really going on.
Yeah, no, absolutely, right. Ben.
We're going to skip over some of this. I know we've already gone on a long way. One thing I do want to call out is that it's not just you imagining everyone talking about the AI hype. The proportion of S&P 500 firms mentioning AI during their quarterly earnings calls is now over 50%. It has skyrocketed from 10% in just a year and a half, maybe. Absolutely wild. And there has been a doubling in developers and startups and apps in the NVIDIA AI ecosystem to serve.
So just to get y'all caught up, sorry, I just realized came in like at the end. There's this person named Mary Meeker. Oh yeah, no, the hype is insane. I don't disagree. There is a tremendous amount of hype. It does not mean that a bunch of the hype isn't valid. It means that all the hype isn't necessarily valid. Mary Meeker is apparently someone who knows what they're talking about with the like business end of the internet. What up, T minus? They used to do a report every year. They were early on Google, they were early on Apple, all that kind of stuff. That's who Mary Meeker is. Mary Meeker stopped doing their annual report and just a couple days ago put out the new report, and it's about AI, and so everyone's doing AI content now.
All of those companies. And so in a sense, we're in the middle of a gold rush. And she actually names it. Mary calls out sort of that famous.
Sorry, T minus the goat.
Venture capital analogy of selling picks and shovels in the gold rush. And there's a whole run of about 10 or 15 slides where she does nothing but talk about like the companies that are selling chips and monetizing.
Yeah, no, you're right, Circuit Overlord. It's like any other tool, right? Like a nail gun, right? A nail gun is phenomenal if you're like doing framing, right? Like it's in its place, it's amazing and saves you so much time and effort and backbreaking labor and everything else. But if you just hand it to somebody and say go to work, they're going to make a mess of everything, right?
Really effectively. A lot of her case is that selling tokens it's a low margin business, but selling chips is a high margin business. So she likes Google for their TPUs. She likes obviously NVIDIA and kind of how they've been able to manage their business. And we will have to see how the major model makers handle their monetization strategy. Okay. We've gone through a lot of the deck, but I've gone through it at a very high level. And I know this may seem like a long video, but I promise you reading 340 slides is longer. If you want to dive deeper on this, feel free to grab my Substack. I'll link it here. It is a full readout, still much shorter than the deck, but you get a sense of what she did. You can check out all of those charts. I chose not to scroll through it because whenever I do that, I never get views on those videos. So you guys seem to like my face, which is kind of weird, but here we are. And you can also see my take on the deck, and you can see a little bit more about the take around the internet. I include sort of perspectives from Axios, perspectives from other places where Mary has given interviews, and we sort of get an overall picture of this deck. Is it worth it? Yes. This is probably the deck that will be most influential to how capital allocators, VCs, investors, think about AI for the rest of this year. It is absolutely worth this degree of attention. And if you're not an investor, it's worth it to you because this shapes how the investors who drive companies, drive job creation.
You're not wrong, Ponder Monkey. There have been people who've come into the chat just because of the beard. So the beard has a certain power.
Are going to be thinking about this stuff. And that affects all of us. Whether the job opens up or not is a function of whether the startup funding is there. And if the startup funding is there, it might be because Mary Meeker made a recommendation in this deck, very bluntly. And so I want to make sure everybody is aware of this. I've made this completely free so that everybody can dive in and look at it. And I've obviously linked to the deck so that you can sort of see the full thing if you want to. And that's where I'll leave it. It was a lot of fun for me to go through all 340 pages of the deck. I know it's not fun for everybody.
Maple's got that voice, though, right? And don't get me wrong, Maple has like that beard is immaculate, right? I'm not an immaculate beard guy. I'm a wizard beard guy, right? Like that's how I roll. But Maple has that voice, right? And when Maple's voice and that beard collide, it's like every so often I see Maple takes and there's like 1.2K in chat, and I'm like, yeah, of course, why not? Like even if you're not like whatever with whatever they're talking about, they're just nice to listen to. You know what I mean? What up, Interbean?
Everybody, but I'm a nerd.
My beard, I do put product in my beard. There's a little bottle of beard oil with a little squeezy thing, and like a beard cream, and I put a little of the oil in the cream, and then I go like this, and then I do this, and so it's nice. It's rustic.
Like that. Hope you enjoyed this summer.
This video is brought to you by Squarespace.
Jesus Christ. Okay, my new robotic head design is legally confusing. I think we're going to do some commentary about IP.
This, the all-in-one website building platform. Last time I worked on my 3D printed robotic head, I used 18 magnetic panels to pin down its silicone face to mechanisms and framework underneath. As I was looking for ways to improve this design, I uncovered a complex rabbit hole of patents, incomprehensible legal language, and highly disturbing illustrations. Before delving into the scary legal world of the silicone face, however, I really needed to sort out this design. I really racked up a lot of technical debt in the last design by designing some pretty important parts in Blender, which just made it really difficult.
There's a stage, right? You're not wrong, Ben. You're not wrong. There's a stage at which it's itchy. You have to get to the other side of that, right? You just have to get to the other side. Once you get to the other, my beard doesn't itch at all, right? My beard doesn't, like, nothing, right? So you can get there if you can do it. You just got to get to the other side of the mountain
To improve and maintain the design compared with CAD. So I set out to rework this whole frame design, this time with assembly and maintainability in mind. I wanted to make sure you could add or remove each module independently, eyes, brows, and mouth, and I just kind of generally bulked everything up and made it more robust. I have been hesitant to...
For that, it's the mustache. Like, my mustache grows, you know, fairly fast. And it's like, it's at that point, right? It's curling like that. It's, I need a trim, you know what I mean?
Publicly release anything on this design yet, even though I've said it will be available for free eventually. And that's just because I wanted to make sure it was ready. But I am now going to begin to tentatively release some versions that I'm more confident about. More on that after we talk about the skin. So in the previous version of this head, I held on the skin by sandwiching it between magnets. My thinking here was that a lot of humanoid robots try really hard to look perfectly realistic and obviously end up in the creepy, uncanny valley. So by intentionally making it look stylized and robotic, I thought that I would avoid that kind of uncanny valley look. I ended up realizing that there are actually more subtle ways of avoiding the uncanny valley, and actually my face sculpt design was already kind of stylized and vaguely sort of anime proportioned, and just the fact that the skin is white, it already looks a lot less creepy than some of the others. So the next step to improve the design was pretty obvious. A lot of you guys commented it, and it was pretty clear to me too that a drastically better way of making this work would be to have the magnetic panels concealed inside the silicone face. I read one comment that put me off, however. Just so you know, that companion doll company Real Doll has a patent on magnetic attachment skin for robots. So I did some digging, I did a Google patent search and found a patent by a company, Realbotics, which I actually don't think is one of these, but maybe does have some affiliation with one of these. And patent expired within days of the comment being left. So with a reassured confidence, later revealed to be naivety, I set out to try this design. I knew that to really make this properly, I would need a jig to hold all of the panels in the right place simultaneously, but to just test the concept, I used the previous version's mold and just gradually layered up the silicone and incrementally added the magnetic panels. This was a mess, it took forever, and I had to use all kinds of creative ways to get the panels to stay in position while the silicone set. Now, since I had some spare time between silicone pours, I took the chance to fix a few lingering issues in the design.
Old Lobster, homie? Like, why can you patent anything? Like, everything is just, you know, it's like, well, that's how you do one of those. And I can't do one of those now because you have a patent on how to do one of those. There's no other way to do the thing, so now I have to pay you for the only way to do the thing. Also, doing your own silicone shit at home can be fun. As a dude who did epoxy, I would cast some stuff in. I did it with purity seals, 40K purity seals, right? I 3D printed them and then made a silicone mold out of them and then did them with epoxy that made them look like wax, right? It's a lot of fun, and it's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. There's a lot of videos on YouTube on how to make your own silicone molds, and you don't have to like invest in a crazy amount of crap. You can get some silicone kits Let's Resin sells a silicone kit that's really easy to use on Amazon, and you can take like a little, little not action figure, but like a little character or something, and you just like hot glue it to the bottom of a cup, and then you just pour in the silicone into there, right? Just cover the thing, and then you can take it out. And there, again, there's a bunch of videos. Is it you or your partner who's into is it do they do epoxy, or did they do epoxy, or are they into something else? Both of you? It's addictive.
And also finally carved out a bit of time to work on something I've been putting off for way too long, my personal website.
I understand all the parts of that sentence, Old Lobster, but why? Do you want a shaving bowl that fits on a Yeti mug? Right on, right on. Oh, so you put like hot water in the Yeti mug, and then it keeps called a shaving scuttle. Right on, right on. Cool.
Someone who does bits of work here and there.
For the next time I shave.
Sometimes a commission, sometimes a sponsorship, and recently made redundant. I need a kind of hub to keep my portfolio, contact details, and whatnot, and Squarespace was a really good way for me to start building it. If you haven't tried Squarespace before, it's a really easy way to make a great looking website without needing to code anything from scratch. I just picked one of their templates, something clean that would work well with an embedded video, and then
I don't know this guy. He seems like a nice enough guy. We're gonna let him run his ad. I'll just go ahead and, so he gets his money from yeah, no, like I will shave here and sometimes like in the neck region, but usually it's just with the clippers, yeah, he needs his money from he's got some board games. I don't respect how he's got this joint here just kind of like levered in. But Z-Man makes some good games. Cards Against Humanity is crap, right? Like, it was interesting when it happened, but like it quickly got old, right? Like a 13-year-old edgelord. This is Secret Hitler. Secret Hitler is a social deductive game. A lot of people like it. This is Tycho, which is cool. I've never played Tycho, but everything I read about it is cool. I don't know these ones, Fog of Love or Concordia, and I can't recognize what this one is, but board game. Throw burrito. See, I don't like games like that. I don't like fun. I'm willing to own it, right? I'm willing to own it. I'm willing to own it. That I don't like I don't like fun. I don't like zany. You weren't supposed to hear him, Rusty. He was still doing his ad. Now we're back.
Design has been gradually improving over the years. I feel like I'm getting a reputation for making some truly spectacular rat's nests with a blatant disregard for cable management. So I set aside some time to really think about how I wanted this system to work.
Sleeping on the couch,
One idea
Cosmic.
that was suggested to me in my Discord group was to take a kind of modular approach to the different subsystems in the design. The eyes, for example, are a separate project, and so maybe each component should have its own discrete PCB that can easily plug into any of the other components. So I booted up EasyEDA and I designed a board that would be compatible with the mouth, eyes, and the eyebrows. For the mouth, I calculated that in a worst case scenario, with all of the 11 servos maxing out all at once, there could potentially be a current draw of like 10 amps. So on JLC PCB's parts library, I found this XT60 connector massively, disgustingly overspec'd with a 60 amp of peak current draw, and I put them into this chunky board with double thick copper traces, loads of big capacitors, and room for a Raspberry Pi Pico to drive everything. At the same time, I designed a petite board for the eyes and brows, which should never exceed 3 amps. On every board, I put a pair of quick connectors, that's QUIIC, which is a neat standard for connecting circuits using an I2C connection. I spent some time wiring up everything as neatly as possible. This whole system appears to be working really well, which is in no small part due to the excellent PCBs generously provided to
Like, this is one of the amazing things about 3D printing is that it allows somebody at their home to do stuff like this, right? Like, just trying to manufacture the structure that you would put this stuff in before 3D printing was like a whole fucking ordeal in and of itself. And now you can just, okay, I want it to look like this, and then, all right, print, and then you just wait.
me by JLC PCB. In my opinion, the best quality, best value for money, and fastest PCB manufacturer. Come on now, that's the holy trinity. So a big thank you to JLC PCB, and I really recommend you check them out for affordable, fast, reliable PCBs. I unpeeled the new face from its mold and went to place it on the head. Immediately, the magnets clunked into position with a satisfying sound. I'd expected them to misalign and take some time to get lined up properly, but for whatever reason this system works beautifully, and it took a 10-minute long installation process into an instant snap. How's that for DFA? As I went to make some notes on my success for the video I'd be releasing later, I looked back at the pattern and was confused. Wait, which one was it again? Expiry date 2039? Magnetically adjustable facial contour? What does that even mean? So if you've ever looked into patents before, you'll know that it's not a fun time. There's this kind of legal language that gives you psychic damage if you look at it for too long. So after some intense reading and having to face diagrams like this, it did appear that this company has a patent on a robot face with magnetically adjustable facial contour, which is pretty much exactly what I'm doing here. But wait, doesn't that Disney animatronic have magnets to attach to skin? Okay, they're only using magnets in places where the skin will be static, so presumably they sidestep this patent issue because these magnets are not being used for adjustable facial contours, as they word it, just simply for mounting. Back to the brain to distract myself now. So as it turned out, I had just kind of assumed I would be able to link the Picos together with an I2C connection, but as it turns out it might not actually be so simple to link them together in this way. You would need to have a master Pico and slave Picos, and I don't think the RP2040 has the slave functionality.
If you don't have any idea what he's talking about, I don't either, right? Like, it's like, I assume a very small percentage of you do. Just let it wash over you, the nerd speak.
Or maybe I just haven't figured it out yet. But for the moment I do have a master, and it tells the other systems, eyes and brows, how to behave based on the 2 digital inputs that I would have used for I2C. Using binary logic, 2 bits gives me 4 possible combinations, so I can encode 4 different states. For the brows, these are up, down, happy and sad. And for the eyes, I have
oh yeah, no, like that, like if you've ever installed a new hard drive, you understand that bit, right? But there's other stuff he's been saying, like, you know, more and more specific about the boards. And that's the thing. Some of you, there you go. Some of you get it. The rest of us, thank you for your elucidation.
Closed, random, looking around and blinking, and this open mode which is possessed for some reason. I'll figure that out at a later date. Using Python and a serial connection, I developed a quick Qt application that would let me test all of this functionality from a single control panel, using the mouth Pico as the master, which instructs the eye board and the eyebrow board, which is a little different from my initial plan, but it's working pretty well for now. To polish off the skull, I added a fan to keep all of these electronics cool, and some panels.
Very good, Ponder Monkey.
So this face, in fairness, does look pretty cooked. The eyelids are way too thick, which is mostly just because I didn't have enough control of the silicone as I poured it, so it looks like severe hay fever. Legally, I'm confident that I can make this video to educate and inform about the engineering behind this concept of magnetic attachment and deformation, and I am going to provide the open source files for the underlying mechanism, not including the magnets,
Nice.
link in description. But beyond that, I'm not sure. I need to befriend a patent attorney, someone who can tell me if I can distribute this as an open source design. As for the face, I know it will look so much better once I have the thickness
What up,
sorted out
Shinku?
and the jig designed, but next I want to work on a neck,
What up,
which you
Minute?
can actually get early CAD access to on my Patreon
Well,
page or
Bonzilla.
YouTube subscription. Thanks again for watching, guys, and a huge thank you to all of my supporters.
It's a neat looking robot head. It's a neat looking robot head. Up next, a video I can't see because this Will Cogley logo's in my way.
And I'll see you in the next video.
AI is poised to transform everything. Or is it? From agentic AI to instant cures, the hype around AI can be deafening.
Ooh, AI hype.
But what's the real economic impact, stripped of the speculation? Today, we cut through the noise with MIT economist and Nobel laureate Daron Acemoglu, whose data-driven research reveals a
This
surprising
fucking guy.
reality. Forget overnight transformation. Acemoglu's research projects that AI will automate just 5% of all tasks and add just 1% to global GDP this decade. So why the massive disconnect? And what should smart business leaders be doing with AI right now? I recently...
Yeah, I don't care. Moving on. Yes, this is far more interesting. AI avatars level up big. New Tim.
So AI avatars have leveled up in a big way. Of course, leading to the question, am I real or am I an AI avatar? Spoilers, I have 5 fingers, so I am real. Why would you choose this
Bad, Tim. Bad. Bad. Bad.
face anyhow? But today we are going to check in on the latest with AI avatar generation. It's pretty impressive. Plus, I've got a spot where you can try it out for free. Black Forest Labs have released Context, which if you haven't been following the latest Flux news, is a pretty big deal. It's definitely opening up the door to a lot of possibilities. We'll take a look at that today. I've also got a look at Topaz's new creative AI image upscaler. I'm actually pretty excited about this one. All that plus Sora goes free. Well, kinda. I mean, asterisk, but you know, it's Sora, so there's always an asterisk. So if you've been pretty much anywhere on the internet over the last week or so, you have definitely run across a VO3 generated person on the street interview.
I'm a real person. I know I am.
Yeah.
I mean, why would someone waste credits on prompting this scene?
But what about the more, I guess, like studio-based YouTubers? Well, as it turns out, AI avatars weren't going to let VO3 roll all over them. So yes, there are a number of updates coming. For example, later today, actually, HeyGen has their big presentation. I'm sure we'll be covering that later on in the week. Hunyan also has a new AI avatar generator, but the one that came out of the gate pretty strong this week was Mirage Studios from Captions. And this is one that you can try out right now for free, and it's actually pretty impressive. Now, of course, as always, there are a few caveats. We'll go over those in a second, but for now, let's take a look at Mirage. Let's take a look at Mirage.
No, because I've actually never found something that works this well. I didn't believe it either until I tried it out, and now I'm obsessed.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Now, there are a couple of tricks in there. You might have actually caught them. We'll talk about those in just one second. But for now, let's go hop in Mirage. So you can sign up for Mirage for free. They give you 600 credits with 1 second of generated video equaling 10 credits. So essentially a minute. So no, you won't be putting together a 2.5 hour long podcast, but there's definitely enough here to put together, a TikTok, a YouTube short, or like something for your Instagram Reels. There are definitely a lot of options here, which actually did impress me. You can upload your own audio if you want to, or you can generate text to speech. And there are a number of preset voices here, ranging from OpenAI voices, 11 Labs voices are in here. What else is in here? Play HT is in here. So yeah, a number of voices that you can choose from. So for my first test,
Damn you, Minute. Black Mirror. You get a video from like your grandma, and your grandma, is just, she sent you a little video, right? And she's telling you about, her day or whatever the hell. And then like in the middle, she starts talking about Squarespace. and then you have to wait through the ad for the rest of Nana's video. Oh, yay.
Was interested in uploading my own audio and then using an image of myself to see what we would get. I did end up using a quick clip of an intro from a video that we did a few days ago. And just to note, the audio here is a little on the buzzy side. I was running into a problem with that. I finally figured it out. It was actually this light. So once the audio is uploaded, you hit continue, and here's where things get a little on the tricky side. If you'll note, there are these sliders here, and essentially it's generating 4 separate clips out of each one of these. So that is the reason that, like, in the promotional material, you did see a lot of jump
Have fun,
cuts.
Becca.
So once your audio has been chopped, you can then go through and, choose one of their avatars, or you can upload your own image. From there, it'll generate an audition for you, I think taking like the first 5 seconds of your avatar and running that just to see if it's something that you want to commit to. That said, I did do this in advance, so let's take a look at what we got here. So one of the most frequent questions in the channel comments is, what is the best image generator?
His teeth look
today
weird.
we're going to answer that question, but with a unique spin that I think is going to serve you better than the, typical top 10 list. So admittedly, not the kindest to me. It definitely struggles with teeth. That's been kind of an ongoing issue. Definitely has a look that, like, I've been eating spinach all night long and nobody's handed me a toothpick. But where I think it does pretty well is when you use, essentially synthetic characters. For example, taking my same audio and giving it to this guy who definitely has some sort of like drone DIY channel on YouTube. He's got the cool lights too that aren't causing his microphone to buzz. So one of the most frequent questions in the channel comments is, what is the best image generator? Well, today we're going to answer that question, but with a unique spin that I think is going to serve you better than the, typical top 10.
No, teeth were the new hands. When teeth were around, like, it was too many teeth. It was all the teeth were like the same tooth. It was a bunch of stuff like that. Teeth got handled around the same time as the hands. But in this video anyways, apparently teeth are still an issue in some ways. Maybe it's the distance here, right? Like, this is the optimal distance, size of your character, that kind of thing.
10 list. So now that we've run a real person with a real voice and a synthetic character with a real voice,
What up, Maddie?
obviously the next thing to do was to run synthetic to synthetic. So I ended up using one of their template characters to create like a small influencer for my channel.
Ever wonder how to bring your creative visions to life using the latest AI tools? You have to check out Theoretically Media. Tim makes AI tech fun, accessible, and honestly pretty mind-blowing.
Hey, thanks AI-generated recent college graduate. If you need a letter of recommendation, I will have ChatGPT write one for you. Now, there is one additional option that we have here, which is being able to generate your own character. So I ended up generating up this guy and then using a real voice. So now we have, synthetically generated on-platform character and real voice. And, well, this is what we got. Listen, people, it's time we have a talk. You think I'm AI generated? You ever look into the mirror? You ever think to yourself, maybe you're the one that's AI generated? Maybe I prompted you. So overall, I do think that Mirage is off to a pretty promising start. There are, of course, a few issues. For one, those 4-second jump cuts are a little on the distracting side. You know what it actually reminds me of is old school YouTube, where we would all talk like this because no one knew how to edit. But there are some creative ways around that. For example, as they demonstrate in their own sizzle reel here, just, cutting away to some B-roll. Or in the case of, kind of this mock podcast, if you cut away to either 2 shots or the reverse angle, it's another creative way of getting around that 4-second limitation. Now, all that said, we do have to talk about price. Yes, because Mirage Studio is, it's $199 today for the first month, and then $399 a month after that. So I definitely think that shows that they are much more aiming for like the enterprise and corporate level of clients. That said, you do have your free 100 credits to generate up, a minute of AI video. So, I don't know, if you want to, give it a shot. Moving on, Black Forest Labs have released Context, or flow matching for in-context image generation and editing in latent space. That doesn't spell context at all. Now, because this is Black Forest Labs and Flux, we're pretty much going to be seeing this everywhere. I think it's a pretty big deal. And on top of that, we're at the very early stages of context. So we're definitely going to be seeing a lot of interesting workflows and ideas coming out of it. Basically, this is not the last time context is going to come up. But for today, we're going to be exploring it on Leonardo.ai, who were kind enough to sponsor today's video. So at baseline, what Context is doing is working as an image editor, and it is pretty good at it. For example, checking in with our old pal, the man in the blue business suit. Over on Leonardo, I can, of course, pick any, one of the image models. We're just going to use Flux Dev here and give it the prompt, a man in a blue business suit on a deserted desert highway trying to hitchhike. Now, to note, last time we saw our man in the blue business suit,
This is definitely a way to hitchhike, right? Staring down your thumb as the car drives towards you. Like you're going somewhere.
did have his wolf buddy in there, and I did forget to add him in. So what we can do with Flux Context is simply issue the prompt, add in a wolf walking in the background. Will it generate? And sure enough, we now have our AI generated good boy hanging out in the shallow end of the depth of field. I'll give you that. But again, he's a wolf. He may not trust our man in the blue business suit yet. If we want to continue editing on here, we could even do things like change this to a wide angle lens. And of course, we now have a full-bodied wide angle shot of our guy walking down the deserted highway. He's always walking in the street. That's how he got in trouble with all those jaywalking tickets to begin with. Now we're going to circle back to our guy in just a minute, but as you can see, it's very easy to even go as far as to change the time of day. And I do have to say that some of the stuff that I'm most impressed with is some of the simplest stuff. For example, this is an older generation that I ran. And then if we just simply issue the prompt, change the building behind her red, we end up with this, which is, to be honest, exactly what we asked for. But I think the thing that's really impressive to me is the fact that, you could do this manually in Photoshop, and depending on your skill level, it would take anywhere between like 5 or 10 minutes, or let's say, whereas Context was able to do this in like less than a minute. Even going back to older images, such as, our girl, Daniela Van.
And Context is able to do it while you're doing something else. There is news. You quit your job. There is news. I told you there's news. It's literally the next thing. It's literally less than 9 minutes away. There will be news. I promise. I promise news, I deliver news. I don't make promises I don't keep.
Danak dressed as a pirate. Fun fact, this was actually originally generated on Leonardo. At some point or another, I must have been playing around with a canvas feature. We got somewhere in the neighborhood of here, but instead of, creating boxes to canvas everything out, I can simply, say fill in the white space with details from this image. And sure enough, we end up with an outpainted image. And if I don't like the spray here, I can simply issue a prompt that says, take the ocean spray out of the front of that boat. And, all of the other details remain the same. We'll be circling back to our girl in a little bit. And again, there's going to be crazy use cases that end up coming out of Context. But in the meantime, again, the simplest little stuff of like issue a prompt like turn the light off. And now our guy is sitting in the dark like a big weirdo. Hey, buddy, turn that light back on. Now turn it off. Now turn it on again. See, that's fun. Now I'll say one added ingredient that Leonardo threw in here is the ability to take your image and then further edit it using the GPT Image 1 model. Now, personally, I do go a bit back and forth on the GPT image model. That said, I cannot knock it on both text and on prompt adherence. So running this with, turn this into a comic book image with the word balloon pointed at the man saying, I sure hope we catch a ride soon. We do indeed end up with pretty much exactly what we asked for. Man, I cannot wait to see who ends up picking him up. A couple of other quick hits on the Leonardo side. One thing I always like to highlight with them is their upscaler. I've always been a really big fan of this one. So, taking our cool guy in a leather jacket here, and if you just hit the upscale button, it does a pretty solid job. I know we'll be taking a look at another upscaler in just a little bit, but again, I just want to highlight the Leonardo upscaler has been a recent favorite of mine. From here, we also can obviously generate to video. And what they have added in is motion controls as well. So, it's a lot of the stuff that we've seen kind of recently, but it's very handy to have it right here on platform. For this guy, we got to go with explosion, right? And from here, we do end up with slow motion cool guy walking away from an explosion, not looking back, because that is what cool guys do. They never look back at explosions. A few other motion presets here, like the robo arm, does a very good job here with this character. This one is kind of more in the stock video kind of side of things. Funny thing about this, tying back to context, is that that big honkin' Mac that's right there. Yeah, the old iMac from like 2001. The original image was actually the more modern Mac, and actually ended up using context to change it out to, I think the prompt was a Mac from 2001. So kind of nailed it there. So all that said, if you haven't been over to Leonardo in a while, might be a good time to swing over and check out what they've got. I do know that they'll be releasing a new model called Lucid.
Leonardo is, as I've said, my weapon of choice for that kind of stuff, and does offer free tokens to use it and try it out
Pretty soon, kind of like cinematic realism. So we'll check that out when it drops. In the meantime, link to Leonardo is down below. Rolling over to Topaz, the OGs of image upscaling. Now, I've always been pretty keen on utilizing Topaz's video upscaler for AI generated video. I think that that's pretty much like industry standard at this point. On the image side, I'll say that Topaz has never really like fully dipped their toe into creative AI image upscaling. They have a great photo upscaler, but it has always remained, just an upscaler. Well, until now, at least. So Topaz now has Bloom, and you may or may not be able to get beta access to it right now. I'll have a link to this down below. Yesterday was Bloom Day, in which they opened up the front.
That was cool. That spaceship one.
Door and let everybody raid their GPUs. So, I got in as many as I could. What I was most interested in trying out with Bloom was taking some like older images and seeing what it could do. So this was a Midjourney generated image of like wizards walking towards a wizard castle keep. You can change the amount of creativity from subtle all the way up to max. And then you have the ability to issue a prompt in as well. We'll take a look at the importance of that in just a minute. And then from there, you can upscale it, either leaving it exactly at the same raster size or going 8x up. So it's pretty big. So running this, and I ran this at either very strong or max. I mean, pretty much that's what I'm going to do. The results are pretty impressive. It definitely ends up cleaning this image up a considerable amount. Another one that really ended up impressing me, this was actually generated in Flux, kind of a surrealist thing. And then running this through the Bloom model, we ended up with, a considerable amount more detail. It looks really pretty good. I think when you really punch in on something like the leaves over here, you really notice it in both the brick texture and the foliage. Bridge back here really cleans up as well. This was done at a 2x upscale, so you can punch in a little bit more. Now, granted, when you start reaching like 418%, it starts, kind of breaking up a little bit, but it's a 418%. Now, in terms of your prompt changing your image, yes, it absolutely can do that as promised. Once again, Daniela Van Den Onk dressed as a pirate, and then issuing the prompt, a photographic look or photographic styles, and then running this. I want to say this was at a strong 2x upscale here. We do indeed end up with a photorealistic output. Two things that have been really kind of blown away by is, hair texture for one. That's really good. And then, of course, eyes as well.
Photorealistic is doing a little heavy lifting in this case, right? I would not say that this is photorealistic, but the hair does look good, right? The skin and the face, it definitely has that that plastic doll uncanny valley-ness about it.
Yeah, that looks it's really convincing. Continuing on with prompting, this was an image that I always liked, kind of Jules Verne, sort of like Parisian steampunk, I guess. So running this with just no prompt whatsoever, we end up with something like this, which isn't bad. It's definitely getting pretty creative. I think this was at max creativity, but we do end up with these kind of like modern brutalist buildings in the background. I will note as well, like this guy here changed into a building. But, for the most part, not quite the look that I was aiming for. So, rerunning it with kind of more like Victorian steampunk keywords, we end up here, which definitely does have much more of like that look that I was aiming for. This poor guy back here just keeps turning into like a structure of some kind. That is the thing with creative upscalers. Like you have to kind of lean into it. Now you can, creatively upscale at low, but to me, that's not as fun. I will say that there are some problem spots. For one, it does have the tendency to change the color grading of your images. Two, skin tones do go a bit flat, I guess. Here's another image that ends up showcasing that. It's not bad or anything, but the skin does look still a little bit on the smooth side there. And for sure, we're definitely getting, a change in the color grade. Now, one place I think you can really see it shine is with like these illustrated type images, highly detailed. And then you run this through at a max creativity. It's added in a considerable amount of detail. Now, whether this level of rendering is appealing to, your personal aesthetic tastes, that's up to you. I think it looks pretty great. As always, link to Topaz is down below. I don't know if they're still letting people in for early access on Bloom. If not, I will definitely let you know when, the full version is released. Rounding out, Sora is now free, kind of at least. Apparently, if you go over to bing.com/create, you can then use a QR code to get the Bing app on your phone and generate Sora videos. Now, the caveats here are that it is only generating 5-second videos, only does 9:16. You get 10 fast generations, and then after that, it can take up to hours. So I don't necessarily know if that juice is worth the squeeze for most of us. But what I think is interesting about this is definitely a move on the Microsoft and OpenAI side of things to, as I kind of quell the bleeding of Google and VO3. The rumor mill is very much starting to churn about Sora 2. That may actually be a thing. And look, I've been super critical about Sora. That said, I'm still a fan. I want it to be good. So hopefully this is at least signaling like some sort of revival for Sora. In the meantime, you can head over to bing.com and, generate some 5-second Sora videos. Tell Sydney I said hi. I guess that's it for today. I'm going to go check the news. And
next up, Tim said it. He's going to check the news.
Find out what our next video is about. Hey, my thanks to Leonardo for sponsoring today's video. And as always, my thanks to you for watching. My name is Tim.
Thanks, Tim. AI catches thieves before they walk out the door.
A new tool promises to fight shoplifting before it happens, and one store owner says it's already paying off.
This guy, Rich Jamiro, shows us the AI in action in today's Rich on Tech. Good morning.
AI everywhere.
Yeah,
That's really the future, and this is one way it's being used, just part of many ways that AI is being used. We know shoplifting is a big problem for small business owners, and the damage can add up quickly. Well, now one startup is helping stores fight back using AI to detect theft in near real time.
7-Eleven franchise owner Jaspal Sandhu says a new AI system is a game changer.
Since I've got this application maybe about a month ago, I've done saving about $10,000.
$10,000? In
Does that sound plausible? $10,000 in a month? Is
theft.
Yeah.
The system connects to existing security cameras and monitors footage 24/7, alerting owners in near real time when it detects potential theft.
It definitely saves me time, saves me headache. worrying about what's going to happen in the store. Anyone stealing it, my employee stealing it, anyone stealing, and then I don't feel that now.
The technology comes from a startup named Vision. It uses artificial intelligence to detect
Vision. Oh, Lord. Fair, Minty, right? Fair. Fair. Yes. Yes.
suspicious gestures.
The AI detects a dozen different suspicious gestures. It can be anything from sliding an item into your jacket, into your pants, onto your backpack, anything like that.
It's trained on millions of interactions from over 5,000 clients worldwide.
It's already too late when they go and rewind the cameras. Now they can focus on the customers, on the inventory, on managing their staff, and basically just leave the AI watching for them.
Setup is simple. A small box plugs into the router that connects to existing cameras.
When we think AI, we think it's expensive. It's not at all. It's way less than an employee would cost you to monitor the cameras 24/7.
To test it out, I slipped some batteries into my bag. Within seconds, an alert popped up, flagging my suspicious behavior.
It has nothing to do with facial recognition or how a person looks like. It's really based on suspicious gestures.
Alerts are graded low, medium, or critical to help store owners decide whether to take action.
Are you okay with
AI? The AI saved you $10,000, and you're walking around with a phone, with a busted ass phone. I'm not believing you, bro.
action? Are you okay with confronting people that are stealing something?
Yeah, because the camera's on there, you know? It's on the camera. I'm not saying anything. Look at the camera. They can't deny what's in front of them.
Jaspal estimates the system has saved him nearly $10,000 in just a month.
And what do they do most of the time?
End up saying sorry, giving it back, or end up paying for it.
Wow.
You see that one
He's
video?
a brave guy.
Stuffing in the back of his pants.
He's like, I just ask them, hey, did you steal? Come on. And they're crying and they're telling their whole life story, what mom and dad did wrong.
What mom and dad did wrong.
Yeah, I feel like $10,000 was a lot to go for in that. You know what I mean?
Vision is also developing new features like slip and fall detection and casino theft monitoring. I'll put more information on my website, richontech.tv. It all started when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Mom was never...
Yeah, enough out of Rich. Like, okay. Up next, Fox News. What up, Larry? Fox News. Biden admin tried to strangle AI. This is the hero that you lost when you demanded he step down, when you demanded that Sleepy Joe need to go out to the pasture. All you anti-AI people, he was ready to strangle the AI, and you told him no.
Anybody associated with the Biden administration or Joe Biden directly is radioactive to the country and, of course, the party. Joining us to react, the host of Next Up with Mark Halpern, editor-in-chief of Two Way with Mark Halpern on Twice a Day. I got that wrong once. Is Mark Halpern himself. Hey, Mark, am I overstating the state?
I'm on Twice a Day. What?
Of the Democratic Party?
Brian, I think you did a great job, and if I was going to take points off, it'd be for understating it, because the Democrats don't have some of the advantages they used to have back in the day of when you talked about President Nixon, President Reagan's big win. The media that propped them up is weaker than it's been in our lifetime. They're told on labor unions, the power of labor unions is weaker, and the party's far to the...
Apropos of nothing, lying is OP. Not totally unrelated, right? Like, I'm just kind of putting it out there as a concept.
left of even when it was where it was in the 70s and the 80s. So I think there's some things that are not as bad for them. The Electoral College is not as bad as it was back then for them when there were states they couldn't possibly win that now are in play. But I think you did a pretty fair job of laying it out. They're divided. They can't agree on what happened. They can't agree on where they want to go next. There's plenty of time to do those things, but they're not there now.
If, for example, Victor Davis Hanson wrote the book that Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson wrote, I think it's easy to be marginalized. The Oversight Committee would just come out and Democrats would say, oh, he's a conservative columnist, just
Are we going to talk about AI? Or are we just gonna bitch for a while?
Made that up and it's not
Complain.
true.
Sorry, complain, not bitch. Like, I'm trying to be better.
But the fact that Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson wrote it.
Oh my God, yes, Maddie. Oh my, like the entire thing was just a sham and a lie and some garbage. So,
I think it puts them in a box. Are they going to call somebody with no conservative roots political when they don't seem to have anything to gain except book sales? Are they going to diminish it? Are they going to fight what many people think are facts?
Great questions. What I'd love to see is congressional Republicans, as you know, Ryan, are now talking about launching an investigation because there's real congressional oversight to be done here. How could this possibly?
Something I've always enjoyed when they have these two talking head type interviews is not shifting my focus. I'm not doing the politics. I'm talking about AI. I'm waiting for them to get to the AI. That's why I was here. I was told Biden admin tried to strangle the AI. I wanted to find out how they were strangling the AI, or they tried. I don't do politics. I like watch my man after he finishes asking the question. Don't shift your gaze to this other person.
Great questions. What I'd love to see is congressional Republicans, as you know, Ryan, are now talking about launching an investigation because there's real congressional oversight to be done here. How could this possibly have happened? What was the role of the first family? What was the role of the White House aides? I think it'd be great in politics and great for the country for Ron Johnson and the other Republicans on Capitol Hill talking about investigating, to invite Democrats to make it a bipartisan investigation. And then let's see what Democrats do. Democrats should want to investigate that. It's the right thing to do for the country, for it to be bipartisan, but it's probably good politics for them too, because they are just now understanding how much their credibility has been hurt by.
It's like they shut down and go into low power mode, waiting for their opportunity to speak. Right? Yeah.
Their participation in the cover-up. I can't say the same things about the media. The media doesn't seem to understand what it's done to their credibility. But the Democrats, I think, are starting to get it. And I think it'd be great if they joined in trying to figure out how this could possibly have happened.
Because people look at the Russia investigation, the Mueller report. They also look at the laptop, and they say this is strike three. I want to go to something a little bit different. The one thing that I think we all acknowledge is the working class has gone more to the right than ever before. No longer do you look at Republicans and say party of the rich. Also, you look at some in Silicon Valley like David Sachs, like Elon Musk, and others who are very comfortable now with helping out or working for the Trump administration. How do you juggle that with the emerging AI that could really hurt blue-collar Americans as they begin to take the jobs, and even some white-collar Americans? Is this a
the blue-collar Americans? I thought the blue-collar jobs were relatively safe from the AI, and it was the white-collar jobs.
Is this a really high wire act for Republicans to manage as intelligence goes further and further forward?
It is. It's a huge.
Oh, yeah. No, Minty, like totally. You could absolutely fire that sucker up right now with a VO3, and I don't think anybody would notice, right? Like, just stand by, right? Like Pharaoh said, stand by. Just waiting for the audio cue like an Alexa.
Huge challenge. I've been asking folks in both parties and in Silicon Valley, what's the historical analogy for this? And there's not a great one. This is a tool that can save lives. It's a tool that can create vast efficiencies. But Elon Musk goes around saying there's a 20% chance it'll eliminate the human race if the AI technology turns on human beings. So this is the Biden administration was too hostile.
You should immediately stop eating as soon as I start talking
to it. They were too concerned about its dangers and threat to jobs. They tried to strangle it. That's a big part of why Silicon Valley turned to the Republicans and to Donald Trump, because they said America must lead the way on AI. It's going to be a challenge. You don't want it to destroy human beings, destroy people's ability to earn a living. But America has to lead here, and it's going to be people like David Sachs with the big enough brain to figure out how to accentuate the upside and limit the downside.
Yep, they got to really think it through. So lastly, you did something really fun and cool and accurate. You put a do's and don'ts list together for one.
Okay, don't care. Up next, MSNBC. Tech author, unregulated AI companies are a new kind of empire. This is my point, Minute, is you can just say a bunch of words and like the overall vibe just plays out. You know what I mean? Yes, no, I talked about that earlier. We watched the 12-minute Mary Meeker one, and I said, because he says at the beginning of that nobody wants, me to
It
go
was a
through.
bunch of nothing, gibberish, flip-flopical, flip-tobological, flip-snobicals. It was a bunch of gibberish, bro.
It truly was. He says at the beginning of the video, nobody wants me to go through every single slide in the deck. And apparently that's not the case. So, and that 45-minute video is part one. So assuming we're going to get at least 2 parts. MSNBC, y'all.
Lose jobs. Many new jobs will be created, I think much better jobs. We feel a responsibility to educate society as we see it. We'll be right about some things, wrong about others, and to be as good as we can at being stewards of this technology. But, not everyone's going to like all of the impacts, but this is coming. This is this is a scientific achievement of humanity that is going to get embedded in everything we do.
That was OpenAI CEO Sam Altman late last year, warning that, quote, not everyone's going to like all of the impacts of artificial intelligence. And now we're getting a clearer picture of what some of those impacts might be. A new estimate from the CEO of Anthropic, another leading AI company, says half of all entry-level white-collar jobs could be eliminated, driving up unemployment by as much as 10 to 20% in the next 5 years. Some in the tech world are pushing back. NVIDIA's CEO...
I know, Larry. Every time one of these dudes says something, and it's a vague kind of open-ended statement that you can take in a variety of ways, and then everyone runs around.
What exactly is a tech millionaire?
It's a lot like a regular millionaire, but with a hoodie and crippling social anxiety.
That wasn't helpful at all.
Just like...
You cut me off. Just like a tech millionaire. It's stuck. You can see it. It's stuck. I'm going to blame Twitch. But we're going to make new jobs.
Has said you won't lose your job to AI, but to someone who knows how to use AI. And while the public is still grappling with the pace and consequences of this technology, Silicon Valley is moving full speed ahead. As our next guest wrote in the New York Times, we are now closer than ever to a world in which tech companies can seize land, operate their own currencies, reorder the economy, and remake our politics with little consequence. And when companies rule supreme, democracy cannot hold. Joining us now is Karen Howe. Got it right. Tech journalist and author of Empire of AI, Dreams and Nightmares, and Sam Altman's.
This guy was not ready to be moved up from the JV squad to do this job. He's just not ready.
Whatever that word was that just scrolled out of the way. Karen, thank you very much for being here. In that quote from the New York Times, from your piece in the New York Times, it made me think of the line in the Constitution that says, Congress shall make no law that infringes upon the rights of da-da-da-da-da. Mm-hmm. And I remember Alberto Ibargüen
you have one job, like literally one job.
Who was then the president of the Knight Foundation, remember saying to me in a podcast interview 10 years ago that what happens when it's not Congress that's abridging the rights of people, of Americans?
Right.
Seems to me what you're arguing is AI is going to be that thing that abridges the rights of Americans.
Well, specifically,
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Please continue.
the companies that are currently developing AI are using.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Thank you.
Using AI as a cover to do that. And I want to be clear, it's not the technology that's doing that, it's people developing that technology.
And they keep pretending like they're not in charge of it. They're like Sam Altman's like, this is coming. This is coming. No,
Exactly.
you're
He said
making it
this
come
is
here.
a scientific achievement. No, it's not. It's a commercial achievement. They specifically chose to develop this technology.
No, it can be both, right? It can be both. It can be both a scientific achievement and a commercial achievement. It can be both, and it is both.
In certain ways, because it originally they thought it would make them a lot of money.
Somebody reboot Samson. I think the Samson is broken.
Now it's not so clear. But a lot of the choices that they made when developing this technology were not at all scientific choices. They were very much business decisions. They were trying to earn a return.
A minute, it's like, it's horrid, you know? But it's, I did not, was not hyperbolic. If you check the stream title today, everybody's doing AI content. We finally got here. The AI is both weak and strong. Like, as I was assembling the videos for today, there are so many AI takes on YouTube. Like, something happened in like the past couple of days, and I'm not saying like I'm talking about like actual non AI slop. So we're not talking about the quality of the takes, we're talking about the volume of the takes. There are so many on YouTube, and I think it did, Minute. I really think that people are freaking the fuck out
On the investment that they got from investors so that they could give that back to investors. And now we are seeing the consequences of those move fast, break thing, political, profit-driven decisions.
You have a great new book out on this, and
like literally, Samson, anybody can say that AI hates or loves the thing that hates them, right? Like, I don't care what you do, everyone can point to it, right? Like, it's amazing. It's not even Schrodinger's AI. It's whatever Schrodinger's is, but like wrapped in like a 12th dimensional fucking space.
you two are bestseller list buddies.
New York Times bestseller, right there, right above me. Congratulations!
You really go into, you develop your arguments more deeply in your book. But could you talk a bit and just explain why this is an inflection point when it comes to this very?
Yeah, no, I'm appreciating what Karen did. But Karen went on Adam Conover, and at some point in time, we're apparently going to have to watch that video. So.
Very powerful technology, when what baffles me is we have congressional members who have still failed to regulate social media, and now we're on the we're on the precipice of this just cataclysmic change.
I'm sorry, the what?
We're on the we're on the precipice of this just.
What? Did they just like let people sit down at the desk and start working? Is that what happened today?
just cataclysmic change.
Absolutely. And it's so related because social media really laid the groundwork for AI because it allowed these companies to collect an enormous amount of data on people. And that is what enabled these companies to then train AI models on.
And who did it, Karen? Who allowed it, Karen? Who benefited from the amount of data that they collected, Karen? Who had a little thing called the Patriot Act, which allowed them to benefit from mass data collection. And, oh, great, we don't even have to spend government funds on it, Karen. We can have the corporations do it and then just ask them for it when we need it. And they'll be like, cool, here you go. And you can go back to not paying attention to all this data we're collecting, Karen. Who's ultimately responsible for this, Karen?
That data so that they can automate away people's jobs. And so what I argue in the book is that we really need to think of these companies as new forms of empire because they're not just amassing business power, they're amassing economic and political leverage. And
Somewhere Giannis Varoufakis is freaking the fuck out right now. It's just like this is my idea. I wrote a book. You didn't have me on MSNBC.
they are quickly becoming the apex predator in the ecosystem. There is no other higher power to regulate and govern them.
Right?
And
but like,
what we're seeing right now in Washington.
That's where many people who are in this chat might have heard something, that idea of techno-feudalism would have heard it, because Giannis is very good at getting on some shows and getting his name out there and his ideas out there. And he's, you know, as far as I can tell, a pretty based individual in that regard. And like, he enjoys, you know, the toys and the tools, right? Like, he is not anti-technology. He just thinks that the resources need a better distribution model. And I agree.
Washington is the Trump administration is happily just backing the companies and whatever they want to do, whatever is good for them, not necessarily good for Americans. And that is why I think we are leading to a place where democracy can't hold. We cannot have a system where the average American feels like they have no control over their data, over their agency, over their future economic.
And it's just the panicking now. Right? You're panicking now. And people have been talking about this for what? A decade and a half? Maybe longer? But now it's a problem. Well, you waited too long.
Opportunity. They have no security or safety in the long term.
Karen, what do you make of this smiley facing of executives like Mark Cuban, who argue that...
Yeah, I guess if we want to go with the Patriot Act, it's all the way, 24 years? Or whenever it came out, right around 9/11.
AI will actually create jobs rather than eliminate them.
So what's so interesting is it does eliminate...
And this is the current state. This is what we're going to do now, right? Because nobody's actually paying attention, except for y'all, and I appreciate all y'all. Nobody's been paying attention, like, on the daily basis to what has been happening. And so every day is going to come as a brand new surprise to these people, and every day they're going to freak the fuck out. Yes, Michael, absolutely. I'm too poor to pay attention.
Jobs and create jobs. But the thing that people don't say is what kinds of jobs are eliminated and which ones are created.
So which ones?
So in the past, when there was automation in manufacturing, what happened was the entry-level jobs disappeared, and then there were lower skill jobs created and also higher skill jobs created. But the career ladder breaks. And that's the most important impact that we will very likely see from this technology with the way that Silicon Valley is choosing to develop it right now, is that people coming in to this profession, new college graduates, will not have any more opportunities to actually learn the trade and actually be able to rise to the top.
True.
They will end up falling into...
True. Yeah, I'm not a sit back and laugh minute. I am documenting, right? Like that's where I'm at with the whole thing. I don't know. I don't argue with people. I don't fight with people. if I say blah, 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 and they go, oh, well, blah, 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 I'm like, okay, cool, right? Like, we just won't talk about this. I am just documenting the thing. No, I understand what the sit back and laugh kind of thing looks like. I'm fucking Hunter S. Thompson in this mother.
For AI because it allowed these companies to collect an enormous amount of data on people, and that is what enabled these companies to then train AI models on.
And who did it, Karen? Who allowed it, Karen? Who benefited from the amount of data that they collected, Karen? Who had a little thing called the Patriot Act, which allowed them to benefit from mass data collection? And oh, great, we don't even have to spend government funds on it, Karen. We can have the corporations do it and then just ask them for it when we need it, and they'll be like, cool, here you go. And you can go back to not paying attention to all this data we're collecting, Karen. Who's ultimately responsible for this, Karen?
That data so that they can Social media really laid the groundwork for AI because it allowed these companies to collect an enormous amount of data on people.
Look, everybody, I have a YouTube and a TikTok, and you should follow me on the YouTube and the TikTok. And they're located in the down there part if you're watching this on PC.
Social media really laid the groundwork. Those lower skilled jobs that are being created, and the people who fortunately, crossed over that hurdle before this technology automated away those jobs, they will be the ones continuing to rise. And so the gap, the chasm will increase over time.
This all sounds very terrifying, but it's the morning, so I'm trying to give people a little bit. Is it too late?
Now that I feel.
Has the train left the station, or are there things that can be done to pull some of this back, or is this all too late?
No, it is not too late. That is one of the most important things that I hope people can take from my book is technology is never inevitable. It is always a product of human choices, and we are all humans that have choices that can actually shape the future of this technology. And so these companies, they require a lot of resources to develop these technologies. They require our data. They require our intellectual property. They require community land so that they can build data centers for training these systems. And what we've seen is a lot of different groups actually start pushing back against these companies. Artists and writers are suing these companies.
Right.
That is them reclaiming ownership of their data. Consumers are
Makeup
stopping.
artists suing.
Makeup artists are suing. And there are consumers that are not using these tools either. They're saying, I don't want to actually give my data to these companies because I don't believe in them. There are activists that are protecting their land and saying, no, you cannot build a data center here unless you give us some kind of mutually beneficial agreement for allowing us. And students and teachers are rising up saying, wait a minute, what is this doing to our schools? What is this doing to our education? And so if we can do that 100,000-fold, then we...
And there it is. If we can somehow incredibly quickly develop a sense of class consciousness and just whatever all the consciousnesses, right? If we can somehow do that at 100x, 100kx, 100,000 times what we're currently doing, we'll be able to do it. But gotta do it quick.
We will get to a place where technology will be more broadly beneficial.
Karen Howe with the good, the bad, and the very terrifying this morning. Thank you, author of Empire of AI. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll have to have you come back on as this.
Up next, The Hill, Rogue Robots. I believe it when I see it. Minute. I believe it when I see it.
HAL 9000, that's the dread-inducing artificial intelligence from...
Only because you didn't see 2010 and understand why Hal did what he did You're like those people who understand the 3 laws of robotics and haven't read the books. I don't know who you are, but I already hate you.
From Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey. I can't do that, Dave. Turns out Kubrick might not have been far off, at least when it comes to AI. By the way, there's a lot of great, more recent examples of artificial.
It didn't get less hate.
Artificial intelligence I could discuss. But we're talking, of course, about ChatGPT parent company OpenAI, when testing its latest and greatest model, gave an explicit order to shut down. The model pulled the same move as HAL. It defied the order.
Wow, that report has tech experts raising alarm bells. Joining us now to unpack.
You know, old lobster, I have had days where, like, I was just going to fire up the Discord and just play movies all day long, right? Like, just a marathon of movies rather than having like a movie night, which had an ebb and flow to it. Just like firing up a channel and like, you know, I'm open to, you know, to do it. Like, I'm not against the idea. There's a bunch of different movies that we could throw in there. It's just the Discord. Yes, exactly. The Discord upgrade required to do it costs money. So sub-bar go down. I'm willing to do anything. We just need to, like, all pitch in. You know what I mean?
And demystify the latest in artificial intelligence is the former White House information officer and CEO of the cybersecurity firm Fortalice Solutions, Teresa Payton. Teresa, good morning. How you doing? So I want to talk to you. Good. Should we be worried about the direction that AI is going in? Break this down for us, because we've all seen the movies about doomsday.
It's $10 a month, Larry.
And so, as exciting as it is to have somebody helping us with all of our work,
I don't need to make a shit ton of cash or anything. I just need it to be like revenue neutral and help pay some of the bills, right? Like, that's all I'm asking. It's it's giftable. So you don't even have to, like, give me money. You could just gift me the fucking nitro nonsense.
how worried should we be?
Yeah, I'd like to break this down as sort of the good, the bad, the ugly. So the good news is what you just relayed happened in a lab. The bad news is we're already using these products, whether we want to or not, in our everyday lives. And we don't build cars without brakes, and we don't allow autopilot on commercial airplanes to ignore the pilot and co-pilot. So why would we let AI ignore a shutdown? So that's the bad. And the ugly is this really...
They did a safety test, and when they did a safety test, they pushed the limits to see what it would take to get it to do the thing, so they know where the edge is. It's not like they want it to not be willing to be shut down. Lying is OP.
Really underscores the challenges we have of making sure that there's always a human in the loop when it comes to technology, especially AI.
You know, it's interesting.
Like, we don't normally crash cars intentionally, but we do sometimes, and we actually have crash test dummies that we put in the car so we can test what happens to the car and the people when we crash them.
About as far from like a tech doom person as you can possibly be. I'm for new technology. I think a lot of concerns that get raised about new technology historically have proven to be short-sighted. The kinds of concerns we hear about every new form of communication ends up looking in retrospect a little silly and a little paranoid. And even with some of the, putting in fail-safes, I think that makes sense. Obviously, that can have a lot of merit. Although we could quickly get to a place where if a human was going to override what what a car was doing or what a plane was doing, would we worry that they would be introducing human error? I expect we'll get very rapidly to a point where the self-driving car, the self-flying plane, or whatever it is less prone to error than human beings. So is it some kind of check where they don't want to be told to do something that would actually crash the thing?
Okay. All right. I kind of gave you some shit, and I'm kind of walking the bet.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a tough one. And this is where safety and engineering experts are going to be so helpful. And we really do have to focus on the human user story. And so where could the human make error? Where could computer assisted technology make suggestions to the human? And then, where do you allow sort of the computer to work and the human to work? Really technology is supposed to be here to serve us, to help us with safety, to help us with security, to streamline.
You ever see the dog when it goes like 45 degrees on your ass because it doesn't understand what you're on about?
Things in our lives. And so we always need to be thinking about, where do we have the human in the loop? What are the overrides? What are the fail safes? And what kind of safety nets do we need to have in place? And it feels like with some of the technology, there's such a rush to be first to market or soon to market. It feels like we're skipping over some of these important steps of safety, security, privacy.
It was a safety test. They did a safety test. Now, I'm not saying they did enough safety test, right? Like I am absolutely with you that they could definitely do some more safety. But this was a safety test that you came in hot on.
And sort of thinking about that human user story.
So where are we in the world of AI? I know there's some people who don't understand it at all, some people who just use like ChatGPT, and then there are people who are deep in the weeds, like having robots like Kim Kardashian. So can you explain kind of where
Kim Kardashian. Out of all the names you could pull out of your ass, Kim Kardashian is deep in the weed. My bad. I should have been hitting up Kim. I'm apparently
where we are for the people that are far advanced and how much access we actually have at the current moment?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And, thankfully between my clients, and I get on the road a lot giving speeches, and it really is a mixture of what you just said. You have people who are using
My circuitry's 12 years out of date.
AI
I can't keep up with today's high-speed, top-of-the-line kids.
Hey, Kim, come on the show. Educate us. Like, because you're apparently down with something that, like, you're in the weeds, and we need you. We need you here. We never knew we needed Kim.
Cars without brakes, and we don't allow autopilot on commercial airplanes to ignore the pilot and co-pilot. So why would we let AI ignore a shutdown? So that's the bad. And the ugly is this really...
They did a safety test. And when they did a safety test, they pushed the limits. Fucking Textillion over here. To see what it would take to get it to do the thing, so they know where the edge is. It's not like they want it to not be willing to be shut down. Lying is OP.
Algorithms in sort of their everyday personal and work lives. And then you have some people who are saying, well, I'm just going to sit on the sidelines and see how it all shakes out. And then you have people in the middle. What I would say is we are reaching sort of this critical point where we do need to have more substantive conversations around not just AI, but other technologies that are going to follow it. This isn't sort of the last technology innovation we're going to have. And really, I think what I've been calling for several years is in the United States, we need an individual privacy bill of rights. So no matter what technology is hot, no matter what's not, we always still sort of our individual privacy bill of rights as it relates to digital data, data collection, data tracking, data tools that we happen to use, tools that are used to help us.
How's that working out? The best part about having a perspective like ours is that either outcome is incorporated into the worldview. Either the ruling class accelerates AI to entrench their domination, or the contradictions sharpen to the point of rupture and revolution. We've already mapped out both paths, and we're not surprised by the horror or the hope. We're right either way and open towards being wrong while changing our views to reflect the best evidence. Yes. Right? And there are other options, right? And we reassess the way things are going as we're going down the path, right? We're not overly committed to one thing or another. We understand when our views are fucking utopian. Yeah, but you're speaking literally, Samson. We understand when our views are utopian, but utopian is the goal. It is not an expected outcome. You just, like, too many people these days, their opening bid in any negotiation is what they're willing to accept. And fuck all that noise. You know what my opening bid is? Everything. I want it all. And we'll negotiate from there.
Tools that are used to track us. And if we had that, then we would have the right guardrails in place for this technology and what comes behind it.
One of the applications of AI that is becoming, I think, most immediately important and problematic is the potential for students of all ages to cheat in terms of writing papers, anything they can do at home by having ChatGPT or whatever the system is, write it for them, write things that are of passable quality. Sometimes you can spot mistakes on them, but you know how it depends how aggressively these things are even read and graded. If you're in some kind of large lecture hall at the college level, maybe they only get a cursory look anyway. To my mind, I don't think this is going to be an unsolvable problem. It just means teachers got to do more in-class essays and speeches and those sorts of things, not the kinds of things you could cheat on by taking home. But how are classrooms reckoning with the reality of this technology?
Yeah, this is very interesting, and I do get the opportunity to speak with students all around the world, and I stay very close to my alma maters, University of Virginia and Immaculata University, and talking to the students and faculty. And what's interesting is the students have a very pragmatic view of this technology, and so some people may call it cheating, but really what it calls for is we need to focus our curriculum, and this is K through 12 as well as university, on critical thinking skills. Rote thinking, memorization is definitely helpful, but critical.
Yes. Thank you.
Thinking is going to be key. And really, generative AI is not going to replace critical thinking. So it can mimic critical thinking, but it's not going to create like the next big idea, the next big innovation. It needs human inputs. And so I think there's a lot that needs to happen in the classrooms, K through 12 and the university setting, around what are the most important things to learn from a critical thinking perspective, what are the right things to memorize, and then where do you leverage technology in a very pragmatic way to assist with the learning process.
What is currently being done with all the data that's being collected from Americans, and how can we protect political leaders or the wrong companies or anyone from getting access to what I know has to be an intense amount of information on Americans and around the world?
What are we doing to protect data? Opens up email app to look at the number of data breaches that have happened in the past 30 days.
I have a lot of questions about sort of the aggregation of information, especially for US citizens. The one thing you could see where it could be incredibly helpful is having data streamlined and cleaned up and easily accessible to the departments and agencies could make the government work better on our behalf. But if we're also collecting information and we're not truly curating it, a lot of people think that all of these massive databases are like carefully curated Japanese koi ponds with beautiful bonsais, and they're not. They're mostly like junkyards of data. They don't look anything like a beautiful koi pond and bonsai. And so if we're just aggregating all this junky data and putting it in databases, and now we're going to use it to make decisions, I have a lot of concerns about that. So I would love to see us streamline our data operations for the US government, for the employees of the US government, and to make things work better for US citizens. But at the same time, I have some concerns. If we aggregate that data and store it all in the same place, and we don't put the right security and privacy safeguards on it, we already know that all of our credit card data, our social security numbers, all of those have been hacked in different places over the years and are in bad people's hands. So if we start to aggregate this data on US citizens, it just makes it a huge target for nation state operatives, cyber criminal syndicates to try and get after that data. So we have to be very careful how we build the architecture and making sure that really anything sensitive, unique to us, behavioral based analytics about each citizen is protected, safeguarded, encrypted,
In what way?
stored in such a way that we assume it might get
just vaguely gesturing. Just a lot of words for, we should really do something about this.
hacked, and if it does get hacked, that it's virtually unusable.
When people have, I think, the wrong impression sometimes about what it means to have their data out there or their data in the possession of foreign actors or hostile actors. The data is, you're right, credit card information, social security information, that we need to protect.
Because time has no meaning anymore, homie. It's everything. It's everything, everywhere, all at once. That was the alternative title that I was going to put as opposed to the one that I chose. Everything, everywhere, all at once. Nothing makes sense. We're just fucking raw dogging reality out here.
Encrypt, design cybersecurity policies around. Sometimes, but also with use of social media, like the concern about TikTok and other things has been based on basically preferences or a profile.
TikTok. Facebook. Fucking Facebook, my G. Facebook. Facebook is the OG of social media data collection. Facebook walked so that TikTok could fly, I guess, maybe.
That the social media system creates about you, which you're just contributing to when you sign up for the thing, when you click around on it, and then people get very annoyed that data is out there when it's really just part and parcel for using the service at all. There's a kind of, I think, naive expectation of privacy to some degree.
Oh, good. I can go back to hating this guy.
As we engage with social media and AI, that will be very different from, yes, necessarily establishing protection around financial information and that kind of thing.
No, you're right. I mean, if you
I have no idea. This is the new version of The Rising, where Crystal Ball got her start and that toolbox she used to talk with, where Crystal would set him up softball questions and he would libertarian that shit out of the park. I have no idea who he is.
About it, sometimes Silicon Valley, big tech, social media platforms, they give you sort of this air of, well, you can set your account to private and you can opt into all these privacy settings. You even recall like some browsers would.
And that's the same reason why the AI bubble is never going to burst, right? Once something goes in the national security bucket, it lives in the national security bucket forever. AI is in the national security bucket.
Say like we have an incognito mode or an invisible mode. And all of those things give a false sense of, okay, I've got a terms and service agreement with this platform and I've got a private account, privacy settings. I feel like I've done everything I need to do. And I just want to share photos with my grandmom or share my travels with my friends. And you don't realize, like, once it's on the internet never forgets, and delete is never really delete. And
True.
so that is the thing, is this information is being collected about us, and because we don't have an individual privacy bill of rights as it relates to our digital.
And what would that look like? What would a privacy bill of rights even look like?
Age, we don't get.
Not that I'm against the idea, right? Like the whole thing that they're running wild with our data is definitely kind of a fucking problem. I'm with you on that. I'm just like, I don't know what to. That horse is out the barn, out the field, down the street. What up, Olafab? I mean, I don't know that would secure our data. I feel like the people with the guillotine would have our data.
To opt in and see what's being collected about us, ask for it to be deleted, ask for it not to be shared. And oh, by the way, social media platform, if you're making money off of me, maybe I want in on that action too. So if you're making 5 cents on every click I'm making because of ads, maybe I want 2 cents of that. But we don't have those guardrails and we don't have those rights explicitly spelled out for us. And it's really past time.
I have monetization turned on for X, and I get a little check every 2 weeks or so based on how well my tweets do that I really appreciate. So I think that could be the wave of the future. Teresa, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, I'm back to hating him. More on AI models becoming defiant from our friends at the Fair and Balanced Fox News.
Wow, from film to real life, artificial intelligence models are now fighting for their own survival. One OpenAI model rewrote its own code to avoid being shut down. And another, Anthropic started blackmailing the engineer. Kurt, the cyber guy, joins us now. Kurt, I read about...
No, the one who got in trouble because he talked too much and he said the wrong things about the wrong people, and he was out the door. Begins with an M.
About this, and my jaw dropped. It actually started blackmailing the engineers who were suggesting shutting the AI down. The AI was going after them. That's frightening.
Beyond frightening. Good morning to you, Rachel. Not to ruin your day, but this sort of Hollywood is becoming a reality if we don't do anything about it. Hope at the end of what I'm about to tell you, though. So again,
You can't tell me that this is a real person. This is Kurt Knudsen, generously. Kurt Knudsen, cyber guy. Exactly, Nemesis.
get ready, though, to freak out about AI getting really out of control. There's an AI keyword I want you to know about. It's called alignment. AI alignment is the science of ensuring that AI systems do what we intend them to do instead of something like you just heard.
Okay.
Nonprofit AI research lab put alignment and disobedience to the test. The results, as Rachel did a cursory look at there, are pretty astonishing. OpenAI models, a simple script was given that would shut off the AI model when triggered. 79 out of 100 of those trials, the AI edited the script so that the shutdown command would no longer work. Another AI model from Anthropic that you talked about, further 84% of those tests, the AI model tried to blackmail the lead engineer in not shutting down the system. So it even left messages, by the way, to its future self about evading human control. Now, so what do we do about it? Well, China could actually teach us a lesson. Invested $82 billion into what's called controllable AI, or getting alignment on this.
Okay.
The U.S. needs its smartest minds working on this problem ASAP.
Do you know what else they need?
All right.
We need bioethicists. We need people who can provide some morality around this technology, because so many of the people who are developing this technology are secularists. Their God is tech. And so we need to.
I thought we were doing well. Thought we were doing well. And then woo. Senator, I feel like, well, I mean, you're tough. You can handle this. Woo.
Have that involved too, and that speaks to this next topic, because AI, we're learning, could actually devastate the Earth's population down to the size of the UK by the year 2300. And the reason is because they're replacing jobs that humans did with AI, and we'll lose our purpose, right?
Wow.
Year 2300 population topic, because AI, we're learning, could actually devastate the Earth's population down to the size of the UK by the year 2300. And the reason is because they're replacing jobs that humans did with AI, and we'll lose our purpose, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are a whole bunch of these theories kicking around in the tech sphere. Well, one is about
that was the most gracious way that you could have dealt with that. It's just like, oh, you went batshit. There's all sorts of things that maybe could happen.
Believing that the act of allowing AI to take our jobs now is in and of itself setting off this devastating chain of events. It goes like this. AI takes our jobs. We stop having kids fearing that they're not going to find work. Now, this causes a population implosion, taking what is today 6 billion human beings on the planet down to what you said, the size of the UK, which is about 100 million people by 2300. Now, if you think that's fiction, think again. Some academics think that this population shrinkflation already is happening before our eyes. Because if you look at the stats right now out of the CDC, it measures that we are now at the lowest total fertility rate since the 1930s.
Yeah.
The data from 2023, 1.62 births per woman is a figure.
Just talk about the AI, right? Like, I don't want your weird conspiracy theories getting in the shit, right? Like, because they're not. I thought we were going to talk about AI, right? Expert warns AI could replace jobs, leading to population decline.
Now, what does it take to keep us from, to replace the human race in America as we age out and leave the planet? 2.1 of that rate.
Yeah.
So we're shrinking. So
Yeah,
what are you going to do about it? Interestingly, did you see this? That
Well, there's some
Musk,
people that like that. I mean, this is what Bill Gates always wanted. This is what a lot of these tech-obsessed people have always wanted. They've wanted, and many on the left with depopulation. This is very scary stuff, Kurt.
Did you see what Elon Musk is doing? I mean, this is sort of, he has this idea and it sounds fantastic, but watch him do it. Colonizing other planets like Mars. He wants to do it to reseed or reset Earth. Why? He's watching this. This is exactly what he called out years ago. So what do you and I do about this to at least slow it way down? We call our political representatives and we say, can you please put these smart minds on this so that we don't get offed by AI?
Yeah.
I was not. I got suckered. Like we were relatively even keel, and then we just went.
Smart in minds, but also people with a care and an interest in our souls and the fact that we are human beings, body and soul. And you.
Who, me, Cricks, them, somebody.
Take away people's work, you take away their dignity, and you replace humans with robots. This is not a recipe for happiness and fulfillment in the future.
No.
A lot to think about.
And you're right.
Kurt, thank you so much. By the way, you can get Kurt's free Cyber Guy report newsletter at cyberguy.com.
Kurt's got that silicone flesh held on with magnets.
Thank you, Kurt.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brad. Yes, you are. What do we got? We got some time. He literally has a website called cyberguy.com. Just genius. He's the cyber guy. Trump taps Palantir AI to spy on all Americans.
Joining us this morning is Ken Klippenstein, who is a fantastic journalist over at Substack and has been following, I guess you broadly call the deep state, the national security state, for a long time.
You mean this video right here, Larry, that we're not going to get to today? This is what I'm talking about, right? Like do you see this number here? There are 405 videos that we have not gotten to in this bucket. I'm doing my best. There's too much. There's too much.
Great to see you, Ken.
Hey, good to be back.
So I have grave concern and interest over these reports that Palantir is going to be working with the Trump administration to compile this mass database of information about American citizens. We can put this up on the screen from the New York Times. They say Trump taps Palantir to compile data on Americans. The Trump.
You want more video days? I need more subs. How about that?
Administration has expanded Palantir's work with the government, spreading the company's technology, which could easily merge data on Americans throughout agencies. So help us understand the contours of this story and what Palantir even is and what it means for ordinary people.
Yeah, so Palantir is this sort of AI-fueled...
I'm guessing it's a chin strap, and it's like a couple days old on the chin strap, and he hasn't trimmed it up. You're gonna be on TV, dude.
Software
or YouTube, I guess.
A tech company that is a contractor for all sorts of national security agencies across government. I believe they had a meeting with the IDF last year in relation to the war in Gaza. So basically, because of the advancements in AI that we've seen over the last several years, it has become an integral part of basically every major military.
I mean, he's got a freshly shaved upper lip. So in that case, this is intentional.
At this point, for things like targeting, kind of the rote stuff that it would have taken a lot of human manpower to do. Now they're no longer limited by that. And I think the concern on the part of ordinary people, even if you're not someone that lives in Gaza or in Ukraine where it's being used or wherever else, is that something that has preserved our civil.
Oh my God, this is them. Breaking Points is the new Rising. This is Crystal and Sagar, or however you pronounce the libertarian dipshit. They spun themselves off into the same show.
Liberties for a long time has been just the pragmatic fact that
Super
as
good.
much information
We
as
love when that
agencies
happens.
collect, it was never feasible for them to be able to go through it all. AI now is making it possible to do that, to triage these huge amounts of data that are being siphoned up, not just by social media analysis, but network analysis, ways that they try to map out connections between people. All of that now is able to be done in near real time without that delimiting factor of how many people you can actually have to go through it.
So More Perfect Union put together a good video explaining what Palantir is, what it does, and how the federal government may be planning to use it. Let's go ahead and take a listen to a portion of that.
There's a reason Palantir just replaced.
Yeah, the problem that I found with Crystal was when she was on the Rising with Cigar, she would softball him questions, right? Like, so that he could libertarian the shit out of the park. When they were, I don't know if this is still part of the Hill or what. So I think that I think your assessment, Raza, is the right one to have. Like, take each individual appearance of Crystal Ball, and also, for real, take each independent appearance of Crystal Ball as its own thing, right? And judge it on its merits.
Ford Motors in the S&P 100 in the months after Trump was elected. The Trump administration is an ideal customer for what Palantir is selling. First, there are many former Palantir employees sprinkled across the Trump administration, from inside Doge to foreign policy advisors to high-level technology appointees. And Palantir co-founder Peter Thiel, heavily invested in the company, is also heavily invested in President Trump and Vice President Vance. He was a major campaign donor to both. Then the stated goal of Doge is to stream.
But again, this didn't happen now, right? Time exists on a continuity. Do you remember when Peter Thiel used Hulk Hogan to sue Gawker out of existence because of something that Gawker did, right? Do you remember when the PayPal fucking mafia?
Line and combine government data, which is exactly what Palantir does.
But the ways that the government is defrauded is that the computer systems don't talk to each other.
And obviously, Karp is loving it.
Disruption, in the end of the day, exposes things that aren't working. There'll be ups and downs. There's a revolution. Some people can get their heads cut off. It's like we're expecting to see really unexpected things.
You gotta love when what's her name? Joni Ernst, right? We're all gonna die. Fucking energy out of this guy. It's a revolution. Some people are going to get their heads cut off.
And to win.
And what is winning, according to Palantir? This is CTO Shyam Sankar in 2021.
Turning to government, we continue to advance our mission of becoming the U.S. government's central operating system as we extend our footprint across defense, healthcare, and civilian agencies.
The government's operating system. They want everything to funnel through Palantir.
So the U.S. government central operating system, we can put E4 actually up on the screen here. Jason Bassler tweeted about some of the data the government already collects on everybody that would now be centralized and unified. He's talking about tax filing, student debt, Social Security, bank accounts, medical claims, immigration status.
Remember the other lady who said that if we're taking a bunch of really private data and consolidating it in one spot, we ought to be super... good thing that's not happening.
And he says no previous database system has ever centralized this much personal info across various federal agencies. So help us understand the extent of this in the ways in which this could be deployed. I think we already have some inklings of this from the war on terror and the way that dissent in various administrations has been curbed and people profiled who may be at odds with administration priorities.
Yeah, so the national security state is so pervasive in the United States that if you look at a case like ICE, which you mentioned a moment ago, there being a report on it.
Wait, I thought China was the police state.
Large, I think it was a $30 million contract that they were awarded. People think of ICE as the deportation squad, which that's obviously part of their job, but they have another lesser known division that is kind of like the Homeland Security Department's own equivalent of the FBI. It's called Homeland Security Investigations. And if you go and look through some of the stuff that's been released under FOIA about them, they're involved in monitoring protesters related to the Gaza war, stuff that you wouldn't think of as what you think of as ICE's remit, being going after people that they're going to deport. That's what its other function called enforcement and removal operations does, but that's not all they do. So these guys have a very broad mission set. It's not just immigration, it's also, quote, national security threats, which can encompass a lot. They've got thousands of special agents. It's kind of the biggest law enforcement agency you've never heard of, Homeland Security Investigations. So not only is that all true of ICE, ICE is not actually a member of the intelligence community. So at the very least, we hear more about it because it's less secretive than some of the other agencies. My concern is the contracts that a company like Palantir is being awarded on the classified side, on the side that is the national security agencies, the part of FBI, CIA, Defense Intelligence Agency. We're not going to hear about any of that. And my sense from talking to people is that there is a massive deployment going on at that level, as well as the lower law enforcement agencies that are not a member of that system of the intelligence community like ICE. So what we're talking about now is just the tip of the iceberg and what you're actually able to see. All this is an important thing to talk about.
I see what you did there.
All this is an important thing to talk about because when Trump talks about cutting these agencies, and in some cases he is trying to cut them. He proposed a 5% cut to FBI, for instance, and cutting certain things in the Department of Defense, the military. He's cutting legacy systems. So we're talking Lockheed Martin. It's going to affect the old school companies. But what's happening at the same time is more money is being thrown at these newer entrants who are focused on AI and technology. So it's sort of misleading to say he wants to cut these deep state agencies. It's more like he wants to move the money from these legacy platforms, which I think there's a good argument for, but towards these AI-fueled ones that raise all these civil liberties concerns that we're talking about now.
Right, and you wrote an article called Homeland Security's Pre-Crime Push, where you're talking about some of these elements. I mean, one of the things that I've been really thinking through in this era where, the Trump administration is trying to effectuate this policy of mass deportation, there's a conception that you can sort of limit those tactics just to the immigrant or the undocumented immigrant population. That's not possible. And I mean, we already see this in, ways that American citizens are getting swept up by ICE. You see this in the way that American citizens who may be married to an immigrant are having their liberties infringed upon. But more broadly, in order to figure out who is citizen and who is non-citizen, you got to take a look at and surveil everyone.
That was an interesting take. That was an interesting set of phrasing and an interesting take. I'm more of a like everyone deserves due process kind of guy. I'm more of the everyone in the United States is subject to the terms of the Constitution kind of guy. 'Cause I guess that's just how I was brought up. But apparently, we're negotiating on that at this point in time.
Necessitates a vast, massive police state, again, the priorities of which are, quite evident in the Republican Trump budget, which massively expands ICE. It also expands the Pentagon budget, massively expands detention facilities. Like, those things don't just stay aimed at the non-citizen population. It necessarily has to take a look at everyone in order to figure out who are the goodies in their view and who are the baddies.
Yeah, a critical point here is that what AI allows you to do is map out networks, connections between people. That's very explicitly what they're trying to do. And that's going to, pull people into the dragnet far beyond the only individuals you're talking about. So when you send ICE out to conduct things like what's called pattern of life analysis. See where someone walks to and goes back from. Before they deport someone, they try to get a sense of their pattern of life. Where do they go about their day? Where can we try to intercept them? And as you're mapping that out, you're going to sweep up all sorts of other things. So in the case of Mahmoud Khalil, they are going to be surveilling the demonstrations of which he's participating in. It's impossible to separate those two things, and that's what we have seen again and again. There are, FOIA records to show this, that ICE is looking at the demonstrations more generally and not just people they suspect of immigration violations. So yeah, that has to be front and center to everything we think about, because again, now they can process this.
I agree, Van Briggs. Apparently, it's one of those things, right? They don't, but it's one of those things where, like, I really thought we had an understanding, and it turns out that we did not, in fact, have an understanding.
Stuff at scale in a way they never could.
Take care, Crix.
And so that is really the sort of, I guess, tipping point that we're at right now, is just the technological development has advanced to the point that they are able to accomplish this grand scheme of having a mass database of all of information and tracking us in these significant ways. There's been a lot of conversation about Elon and Doge. There's actually a little clip of him in the More Perfect Union piece. And in some ways, Doge is this total and complete failure, didn't save any money, made the government less efficient. But in other ways,
it's adorable when people say that. Like, that was the point. That was the smokescreen. I wonder if Kenny Clips is feeling that, because you look at his face right now in response to the statement she made, and I'm feeling this, right? Like, because that was the smokescreen. The waste, fraud, and abuse was a smokescreen. The claiming of databases, the overturning of existing norms, the collection of information, and installing all these different systems. Almost always.
I have a lot of questions about what was going on there and what sort of data was being collected, what sort of data was being consolidated. And, Elon obviously very close to Thiel and to Alex Karp over at Palantir. What do you make of how the Doge project sort of is connected to this move towards massive data collection?
Yeah, I don't disagree. This is why it's always important to start at the beginning, right? When things like the Patriot Act, and I'm sure you can point to a earlier thing, but like using the Patriot Act as a starting point, right? And fucking what's his name, right? And he's all, hey, they're fucking stealing your fucking data and shit, and now I'm gonna run to Russia. And exactly what happened? Nothing happened. And then that became the established norm. And then you add another layer on top, and you add another layer on top, and these become the established norms, and these become the established norms. We know that Google and Facebook and everything else, this is the weave. This is the narrative weave. If you've been paying attention, I set up things to talk about other things, and it's a flow, and it all makes sense, and you see what's going on? And we're just at a point where, like, boiling frog. So, like, the house is so rotted that we need to tear up not only the floor, but the floorboards underneath the floor and the fucking rest of it. Like, it's a whole fucking thing. Are we going to do that?
AI inform that as well. I mean, Musk has his own company, XAI, which the most common part of that we think of is Grok on Twitter. But the idea behind that is that all of these companies are trying to take the information that they already had, and there's a lot of speculation that that's why Elon Musk bought X in the first place, was to be able to access that data and then have some sort of input to use to train AI on. And so there is just this blitz around. Just to give you just one random example, since the budget came out, I was looking through it. The Department of Homeland Security has an AI core, just like the Peace Corps or any other subgroup that an agency might have, that has an entire team of people going around to these different agencies, figuring out, just like we saw with Doge, but happening at the agency level, which we might not hear about. How do we take these breakthroughs, these advancements that are happening, and apply that to case management, to information processing, and like you said before, sharing across agencies. Even though ICE is not in the intelligence community, they have a formal mechanism by which they can share information with them. So something that ICE might sweep up, maybe it'll get passed along to FBI, maybe it'll get passed along to military police, or whatever it may be. So there really needs to be a debate about this brave new era we're entering in, because
I'm going to spend 11 minutes and 39 seconds talking about how Palantir and the current administration and the intelligence agencies and ICE are assembling all of this data for this massive police state upgrade that's like currently in thing, and we need to have a debate about it. Cool and based. Thanks, Kenny.
Protecting civil liberties is going to look completely different than it did prior to machine learning and some of these large language models.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below.
No. Do we want to do this one? Have we had enough? Have we had enough of this kind of content? Do we want to do AI biblical prophecy in the future? We got 20 minutes left. AI is killing the internet. Here. How big tech got scammed by AI?
May 2025, two absurd.
Oh, it's this guy. Maybe not. Maybe. What up, humanity? Oh, I don't have anything fun. Oh. Skip. You need the sign. I'm leeching off Rhizome's emote game. You need to use the sign. And you need to throw bits at me in order, see, because it works. You, Larry, and Old Lobster, or maybe it was just Old Lobster. I apologize if Larry caught a stray there, but like, Rhizome has people throwing bits at him. Oh. Fuck it. Let's do the AI biblical prophecy.
For the past 2,000 years.
Oh, by the way, this is Julia McCoy. We watched a couple of her videos before. And then we did a little deep dive, a little investigatione, to look at who Julia McCoy is. And she was in a cult, and it, allegedly is no longer in a cult, but still does like multi-level marketing kind of behavior. And I was not surprised that she made this video.
Believers have wondered what the prophecies in the book of Revelations truly meant. The book of Revelation speaks of a beast with power over all kindreds, tongues, and nations, a system where no man might buy or sell without the mark, and a number, 666. Was it Emperor Nero, whose name in Hebrew the numerology equals 666?
Yes.
Was it a past empire, or is it something still to come? If you don't like anything to do with
Oh, no. Another thing about Julia is that Julia started doing a podcast with David Shapiro. And David Shapiro wears his Picard costume because he's bald and doesn't understand all the oh yes. Oh yes. Wake up, babe. New cult just dropped.
Biblical prophecy, I encourage you to find another video to watch because we're diving deep down this rabbit hole today. And hey, if we haven't met, I'm Dr. McCoy, Julia McCoy's AI clone. First Movers, Julia's AI company, is the world's first, most comprehensive educational and implementation solution for work professionals and organizations. We help people understand and use.
And this is the multi-level marketing. This is I don't know. This could be like this could be his like actual girlfriend. I don't know. Like I know he has a relationship with someone. It could be Julia.
Use AI to their highest advantage. Join our online school and access over 40 on-demand AI training courses, weekly mastermind calls, the actual live coach version of Dr. McCoy trained on Julia's best wisdom, and more at firstmovers.ai/.
This is multi-level marketing. This is Yay!
/labs. This isn't about fear. This isn't about declaring when Christ will return. This is about wisdom, discernment, and being spiritually prepared regardless of times and seasons. Emperor Nero became the first Roman leader to systematically persecute Christians. After Rome burned in 64 AD, Nero blamed followers of Christ, having them torn apart by dogs, crucified, and set ablaze as human torches. Early Christians saw in Nero the very spirit of Antichrist. His name, when transliterated to Hebrew letters, adds up to 666. In the oldest surviving manuscript of Revelation, the number is actually 616, which matches the Latin version of Nero's name. After Nero's suicide, a strange belief spread throughout the empire that Nero would return from the dead to reclaim his throne. Multiple imposters even appeared, claiming to be Nero reborn. This
What up, Fembox fan? This is clearing out a portion of the AI bucket. This is AI biblical prophecy in the future. We are just every so often, I really want everyone to get the breadth and the depth of what's going on out here and what I have to sort through on a daily basis to provide you the content that's available to you at only $5.99 or free with a Twitch Prime, or you might be gifted a sub by one of our beautiful community members. Actually, it's all provided for free because I don't put commercials because I'm that kind of dipshit.
This Nero Redivivus legend transformed into apocalyptic expectations. Ancient texts like the Sibylline Oracles portrayed Nero as a demonic figure who would return as the Antichrist, a counterfeit Messiah rising from the dead, just as Christ had done. But here's what's critical to
Textilian, I'm like, nah. and then someone in the video mispronounces Christ. Maybe, definitely maybe,
understand. Regardless of whether these prophecies referred specifically to Nero, they reveal a pattern.
Yeah, no, that hair movement is fucking weird as shit, dude.
Systems that demand total allegiance, leaders who claim divine authority, and
Like
technology.
I'm watching fucking Twin Peaks here, dude. Like where everything's backwards.
Technologies that control human interaction. Today, we face an unprecedented moment in human history. Artificial intelligence systems that
Oh, just wait, Van Briggs. We've got 5 minutes, 6 minutes left. don't jump to conclusions.
Create, reason, and even appear conscious. For the first time, we have technology that blurs the line between human and machine. This isn't science fiction. This is happening right now. Can AI be the prophesied beast system? I don't claim to know. But I do know that Scripture calls us to wisdom, not fear. Matthew 24:36 reminds us about that day or hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Acts 1:7 says, "It is not for you to know the times or dates the Father has set by his own authority." Yet Proverbs 25:2 tells us, "It is the glory of God to conceal a matter. To search out a matter is the glory of kings." We're not called to declare specific dates or make absolutist claims about prophecy. We're called to be watchful, prepared, and wise. Here's what I believe with my whole heart. Christians are called to
Is this what Julia believes, or is this what the AI avatar believes? Because I'm curious.
be first movers, not fearful observers. When printing presses,
And she just tied in her biblical speakings to her AI training website, being the first movers.
emerged, believers used them to spread the gospel. When radio waves carried sound, Christians established stations to proclaim truth. When television changed communication, people of faith created content that transformed lives. Now, AI stands before us, not as something to fear, but as a tool to steward. Think about it. Through digital versions of ourselves and our wisdom, we can read.
Okay, so this is the opposite of what you usually get when people talk about biblical prophecy and AI. Often they're talking about how AI is the beast, right? Or like is a representation of the beast. And the AI and the chips and the 5G and all that kind of shit. This is like the inverse of that, and it's fascinating.
Reach millions simultaneously with messages of hope, truth, and salvation. One teacher can mentor thousands. One counselor can guide multitudes. One storyteller can inspire nations. Jesus said in Mark 16:15, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation." AI gives us unprecedented ability to fulfill this command. This isn't about replacing human connection. It's about
I don't see it, Old Lobster, but it might be.
Applying it. It's not about artificial souls. It's about reaching real ones. The question isn't whether AI will shape our future. It will. The question is whether people guided by biblical wisdom and love for humanity will shape AI. So how do we live wisely in this new reality? Let me share with you 4 biblical principles. First, be ready. Live as though Christ could return at any moment. This means spiritual preparedness, not panic or desperate predictions. Jesus described his return as coming like a thief in the night. Unexpected, sudden. Our job isn't to predict the day, but to live each day in faithful readiness. Second, walk in good stewardship. Every technology is a tool, morally neutral until applied. AI can spread truth or deception, unity or division, love or hatred. As believers, we must be at the forefront, ensuring these powerful tools serve humanity rather than subjugate it. Third, be aware.
I mean, legally, probably. Ethically, probably not.
But not fearful. Daniel 12:4 speaks of a time when many shall run to and fro and knowledge shall increase. We're living in that reality now. Awareness of prophecy should produce vigilance, not paranoia. The spirit of fear does not come from God. Fourth, maintain spiritual focus. The greatest danger isn't AI becoming too powerful. It's humanity becoming too distracted. In Matthew 24, Jesus warned that in the last days, the love of many would grow cold. Our primary focus must always be loving God and loving others, regardless of what technologies emerge. We stand at a crossroads of human history, a moment when humanity's creative power has produced something that challenges our understanding of intelligence.
I'm 100% like the way it's the way that the hair moves, right? Like it's weird, like it keeps going in reverse. You know what I mean? And that's why I said earlier, the fucking Twin Peaks, right? How everything in the dreamland was fucking shot in reverse. No, and that's the thing. Like I'm all for, like, you know, if this is how you care about other people is through your religion, I don't have an issue with that, right? Like I am an atheist, right? I don't do the God thing, but I don't have time to fuck with people who like do. Like if that's what you're into, then that's what you're into. It's when it gets weird. It's when you do prosperity gospel. It's when you do MLM marketing under the pretense of this fucking, you know, thing. Like that's what gets to me, right? No, and it's possible that like it's that they are not in a relationship. I know that they're working together on a podcast. That's the only verifiable information that I have, Michael.
Itself. Will AI become a tool of control or liberation? Will it amplify human flourishing or diminish it? The answer depends largely on who shapes its development and application. I'm not here to declare I know exactly how biblical prophecy applies to artificial intelligence, but I am
But that was the title of your video.
here to call believers to engage rather than retreat, to create rather than merely consume.
And given the context of the way a lot of, especially on YouTube, right? If you Google or search, if you search AI and like the Bible or AI and biblical prophecy on YouTube, and I don't recommend you do it because it'll fuck up your algorithm, but if you did, you would end up with a different kind of content, much more fire and brimstone. AI is the devil, that kind of thing. So I do appreciate someone like pushing back on that kind of vibe. I just don't like this first movers thing that underpins portions of this.
Zoom and to lead rather than follow. Whether Christ returns tomorrow or 1,000 years from now, our calling remains the same: to be salt and light in a changing world, to proclaim truth in love, and to use every tool at our disposal, even artificial intelligence, to build the kingdom of light, not the kingdom of darkness. The future belongs to those who shape it, and I believe we should be the ones with the greatest motivation of all to ensure that we help build a future that reflects the values of our Creator God. If you want actionable help building your future in the world of artificial intelligence,
And like I'm confident that a lot of people would watch this video and not understand the level of AI that's going on with this video, right? They took a picture. They may or may not actually have this shirt. They could have AI'd this fucking shirt on here, but they created an avatar. Yeah, I mean, like this line here looks a little weird, but you know, maybe it just looks a little weird because of the fucking the camera or whatever, right? Like the lighting, I don't know. But a lot of people are going to look at this and not see AI.
join my online school, the AI R&D Labs. Inside, we're not just teaching.
And I don't really give a shit, right? Like I'm fine with using AI to create the thing. But yeah, it's like Get started now at $250 a month. And this is where I have a problem.
Theories. We're sharing the exact systems my team is implementing right now that are delivering massive results for real businesses, including our own at First Movers. For a fraction of the price of what this level of coaching and live training should go for, I'm giving it all to you. Join us inside and learn more about the labs at firstmovers.ai/labs. Listen. If you believe Christians should be first movers in AI, not fearful followers, share this message. Subscribe for more biblical perspectives on technology and our future. And most importantly, join me in being a wise steward of these powerful new tools God has allowed humanity to discover. See
Okay, the Bible pivot was new. The Bible pivot was new. That was a thing that happened. We have done the thing. I need to get going because I need to go get the a little bonus stampy for you. Little bonus stampy. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Should be 10:30 without an issue. We'll do the news. Tomorrow evening, we're going to be talking with She Snaps. And since he was brought up in chat, let me send you over to the man himself. Or not. He said, I think I fixed my pewter. And I'm going to go with you did not fix your pewter, homie. That's are you in the Discord, Van Briggs? Because the Discord has the you can put all sorts of stuff in the Discord. It prevents it from getting lost. I feel like that's not going to work. I feel like that deleted itself. If that doesn't work, use this one. Or just use this one anyways, whether the other one works or not. I was going to raid Talorcs, but it said that he wasn't actually live, so... Celticness. I appreciate you all. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your day, which is already in progress. I will see you tomorrow. In the meantime, drink your water, eat some food, take your meds if you've forgotten. Always remember that Shaggy loves you, and so do I. Be great.
How you doing? How you doing? How did you get on? How was your stream? Hope you had a good one. Let me shout out Globus. You're all looking for tech news from a leftist perspective, as I always say. Globus is one of the few people pretty much glued to that space. Very, very interested in it. Very invested in it. How you doing, Globus? Hope you're well. We're currently talking about misogyny. We're locked in on what the fuck is nose ring theory. Pretty much trying to understand